I am, man, today is, I'm doing so much today. I'm doing so much today. But hello, if y'all can hear us, if you can see us, please do let us know. Because I'm sitting here after having, like, man, we had, like, I think I streamed till 3 a.m. last night. And then I had to get up this morning to do my Thrones of Britannia practice stream. And then I had to go fight my opponent, which I won't reveal how everything went. But I will say that I did play the faction that I can't remember the name of that has the Scottish flag. And I did pretty well with that faction.
Good. We over here in Scotland absolutely approve of such talk. Marvelous. I have also had a ridiculously busy day. Pretty much from the point when I woke up to right this very moment, just before we started the stream, I have been game designing like mad. And this is a really nice break from all of that. I had a walk just before the stream as well, so I went out and had a good wander around before I came back in just to get my legs stretched. But it has been busy. An awful lot of thought has happened today, and I'm really looking forward to today. And you might wonder why. It's because our Wednesday streams take many different forms. Sometimes they involve us having a big discussion about a topic that we both love, often to create something totally unexpected with all of you. Sometimes it's tier lists, which can sometimes be really heavy on one or the other of us. Often me, if, for example, it was like the provinces of the empire, and we did that one, I pretty much went end to end talking about every province of the empire. There was no stopping. It was almost 5 hours worth of talking with me just going, blah, 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 blah. Today, I get to do the opposite. Today, I get to take the back seat while the expert of all things Warhammer Total War gets to slide into shot. That's this guy over here. I can't decide which direction it's going to look like to all of you streaming out there. I think it's going to be that way. But that guy there, because he has been not just gathering all of the knowledge about the new tides of Torment, he has been sunk deep within it, drowning,
I'm
you
the one
might
being
say.
tormented. I am the torment.
Yeah, quite. So I'm really looking forward to learning everything that's been added. And me being me, I'm not going to be able to stop myself from making comment about all the new additions or the lack of new additions like Elf, Tekala, or anything similar. Really quite looking forward to seeing everything that has been added. One of my, I think, greatest joys in life is that if it wasn't for Total War, we wouldn't have a version of fantasy today. There would be no Warhammer the Old World. There would be no continuing use of Warhammer outside of something like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay or possibly Vermintide. Total War has been enormous and has brought so much Warhammer back to us. So it's always nice when they bring something new to the table and say, hey, we're taking something old that was out there and we're bringing it up to date and we're bringing it back in. So I'm super keen to see what Ryan has for us all today.
Yeah, frankly, there probably just wouldn't be Lorebeards because I wouldn't have dedicated so much, because it would have been like it would have blown up and then we all would have moved on and
yeah,
that would have been
there would be no Lorebeards if it wasn't for Warhammer Total War, at all, because I would never have met Ryan. And sure, I would have almost certainly worked on Warhammer in some fashion or another at some point because, man, I've been doing it since I was tiny. But it's unlikely I would have done any online streaming in the slightest, because why? Yeah, here I am, like the fool and the idiot that I am, every single week yapping away about awesome Warhammery stuff, and we can thank Creative Assembly and all their great work for that.
Indeed. Speaking of which, today is once again more crazy. We're just gonna start with this little thing. We're not gonna dwell much on it because there's not a lot to say. But Creative Assembly literally earlier today released this. Yeah. So looks like a certain, and it's literally called, what did they title this? This is their version of a tease, because they don't know how to do teases. They just reveal things with all the subtlety of a brick to the face, where they said, he's back. Do you dare to face him? So yeah, the gash is coming to Total War. It's the gash.
Thanks, Cheesy Sword. You're spot on. And Cheesy Sword, I'd just also like to say thank you for being a member of Lorebeards, because you rock. And you're absolutely correct. Another member of Lorebeards there, Brendan Herald. He's back.
Yep. And also, before the stream even started, Old Man Zola and Tanner Jordan both became members. So thank you so much.
Marvelous.
For
thank you both very much.
Up. We appreciate y'all using that. Me and Andy, amidst our hellish schedules this past week, which have been genuinely hellish, there is literally a post probably like this big that I've sent Andy. I'm like, this is all the shit we have to talk about. And there has been no time. No time.
Although at least half of that has already been addressed already because, hey, we can't help but multitask.
Yeah. So, the best part is when I send Andy a bunch of things like, hey, we need to do this. He's like, I literally already did it. It's like, oh, well, I didn't look. So thank you. Moving on. But yeah, the gash is coming, which is super exciting. It looks like we're getting, that appears to be the Battle of the Nine Demons, because you can kind of see it's an elf army holding off against legions of undead. Exiled One, thank you so much for becoming a member. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, so there's a lot going on. Another thing, so I got
a question for you.
Yes.
Because this is an important question.
Yeah.
And it's a question that all good Warhammer fans should consider. Nagash. Mm-hmm. We all know and we love Nagash. But which Nagash are we going to get? Are we going to get the Super Clown Nagash? That was the last version of him that we pretty much had in any official thing that wasn't the end times. Will we get ourselves Super Clown Nagash from Warhammer 4th edition? Because if so, I couldn't be happier. I painted that model 4 times and it's ridiculous. A truly awful figure with a huge head, a giant hat, and it's just not cool. The original art by Mark Gibbons in the 4th edition was pretty freaking cool. I remember when that book came in, I was like, oh, this is the best. And then the model arrived like 6 months later and we all went, oh no.
Honestly,
oh no.
Honestly, I could not think of a more hysterical timeline than if Creative Assembly did all that hype and the big sky beam goes off and out walks Clown Nagash, being all of 5.5 feet tall or whatever he would be with his goofy ass. Like, oh my god, that would be.
I mean, I love Nagash deeply, an absolutely superb character, but his original model was truly awful. I'm also going to throw out a quick thank you so much, Dylan Schroeder, enormously appreciated. Thank you for becoming a member, and also the same goes out to Many Media 2011. Thank you so much, appreciated.
So we have quite a bit of stuff to discuss today. We're gonna obviously we'll do all that super chat and all that stuff here very, very quickly here in just a little bit. I did actually want to call attention to something that we're gonna try to start doing on Lorebeards. And today we're only gonna do one because we're kind of crushed on time. But I know there's some other pieces that we will also show off the following day. But we've started to get in some really, really nice fan art from you guys. And we want to call attention to it where possible. And so the one piece I'm going to show today, which there are other pieces, I know some artists who are working on some really cool stuff who haven't quite finished yet. But we will be showing those on the next stream for the Fantasy Lorebeards. But I just wanted to show for today, because last Wednesday we did a build a character and we built a vampire lord, and Ashkal made this art somehow in like a freakishly short amount of time.
He blinked and it spat out on the screen. Oh, Ashgal, thank you very much. Now, Ashgal, for those of you who don't know, is over in Australia, so he might actually be awake right now. It'll be his early morning, I presume. I doubt it, though.
Yeah, to which I just have to say, what the fuck? How did he do this in 2 days? That is so crazy, because it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And if you're like, wow, who the hell is that? Go watch our Build a Vampire stream and you'll find out all about her, because we built her together as a community and it was actually super fun. That was like, every one of the Build a streams has been absolutely incredible, but that one was really, really fun.
Yeah, I really love our bonus, not core Lorebeard streams because they can go almost anywhere. But our builder streams, I think, every single time have astonished me with what we've come up with because every time they were nothing like what I expected. I'll admit that I half expected it to be of this bloodline for the Vampire Lord, just because there's so many of the other bloodlines that people like to see the disadvantaged get a go. But what we ended up with was just so cool, so super cool. So thanks, everyone.
Mm.
I actually want to bring up a small comment from this. I'm also going to bring up the new member as well in a second. She needs a name. So there, on that, we sort of avoid giving things names for a reason. Unless we're actually drawing from an in-game character that exists already. Like we did, for example, with the Create and Never Chosen, where we tied it to an existing character in Warhammer. Unless we're doing that, we much prefer that you have got your own freedom to add your own names to it yourself, so you can figure out what works best for your games. That doesn't mean that we don't have ideas at the back of our heads because we can't help ourselves, but we generally prefer for those streams for you to be the ones to decide what these names should be. If we ever turn them into something more official looking, or if we made stats for it in a game or something similar, then obviously we would name them. But for the streams, we prefer to be much more open and allow you to do whatever you want with it yourself.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and I very much agree with Andy on that. Is that we don't, whenever we create these characters, for us, it's more of like, we're creating them with y'all, and we want to feel like y'all can confidently take them into your own games and use them for your own things and stuff like that, and don't want anyone to feel like, oh, well, this is such and such. Where it's like, no, just come up with your own names and all that other stuff. Like, we're gonna leave gaps, and it's up to y'all to fill those in. But we go along with the journey as far as we can.
Yeah, true fact. And that one was, I'll just say it one more time, one that really landed in a way that I didn't expect. And for those of you, again, asking for a name, often with the type of characters we're creating, they tend to be big world impacting special character types. And often they're the sort of characters who have multiple names anyway, who are known by different bloodlines or different peoples or by different types of factions out there by completely different names, in the same way that, say, for example, Tyrion is known as Manslayer in certain quarters. So even if we did add a name, it'd only be one fragment of a far larger whole.
Yeah. So with that, I'm
as Ricky Kevin says.
Yeah, also probably said 100. Very true.
And just before we go on, let's grab the last of the new members that joined in as well. Thank you so much, the Stewman22. Hopefully said that your name correctly there, the Stewman. Thank you so much. Deeply appreciated.
Yeah. So I am, because I'm grabbing like screenshots and stuff literally as we're talking, I'm going to let Andy grab all the super chats that have come in since we started.
Sounds like a plan.
And read those off, and we're going to get into it.
Sounds like a plan. So Maglador pops in and says, Nagash is here! The true big bad of Warhammer Fantasy. Rise, Dread King. Dread King, eh? Are we talking about Nagash? Dread King could be someone else. Lord Vyrian, Hand of Nagash, and other Lord Mortarks. Time to march to total war. I completely agree. Looking forward to that immensely. Along with, on another note, do you think that there will be other DLC after Nagash, like Dawn of War, DOW? What's that? Someone give me an acronym.
Dogs of War.
Dogs of War. Of course it's Dogs of War. What an idiot. Lee Dow, etc. Hopefully not the end of total Warhammer. Yeah, totally. I can't say for any certainty what things are planned out to be, but from what I gather, I think that they do intend more, but I think Sotek will most certainly be able to answer that better.
So yeah, the best thing that I can say is from everything that I've heard and seen, having been to their studio several times throughout the years, is that as long as they keep making money, they're gonna keep making it. So I think I don't think that they're planning this to be the finale. I think they are planning this to be simply the next big chapter, but we will see.
Good to me. Sounds perfect, in fact. Necroplayer97, finally, we have an important egg-laying species in Warhammer. Dark Gods, blessings for the Fimmer.
We will be getting into that.
That's something that we're going to be discussing through the course of this stream. Grim Isaac, what if Fimmer started worshipping, serving Ladriel? You know, they're not in entirely different spheres. The great mist-loving Fimmer and the great mist-loving Ladriel, goddess of the elves. So, hey, that could be a what if.
Yeah, I do think that there would definitely be a really good story somewhere about how Ladriel played a really, really key role in like how early groups survived, like when the Famir fought against the elves in like the ancient times. Like Ladriel feels like she would have been absolutely core to dealing with the ancient Famir, because they would have been, especially back then, they would have been spooky because they were a lot stronger in the past than they are now.
Yeah, agree completely. Alanolex 3962. More importantly, Nagash is risen. Yeah, I did that. Let's move on. Russ W. If Total War did a DLC based on you both, what would it be called? What would your stats be? And where would you start? Yes, Nagash rises, and you guys rock. No, Russ, you guys rock.
Yes, yeah, truly, y'all are the heroes here. We're literally our DLC would probably be called the two fuckers that know too much and never shut up, and it would be. We would probably be more annoying than helpful, but if you play your cards right, we would be helpful in specific circumstances.
We'd almost certainly be constantly talking in your ear, making the advisor and his constant call of ogres, my lord, be somewhat less repetitive than us. I think that fits well.
Yeah, we'd be doing our best, okay? We'd be doing our best.
Magladoth suggests Lorebeards DLC pack, Nana Face Flaya, Can Brothers. We're taking some of our create your own streams and bringing them in as possibly mods rather than necessarily DLC packs.
Yeah, I mean, that would
require GW permission.
Yeah, if someone had lost their mind and was like wanted to make a mod pack about Lorebeards, I think taking the creator characters from Lorebeards and putting them in would probably be the coolest thing you could do. That would be pretty sick.
That would be pretty sick. I mean, it'd almost get me pulled back into playing the game again. Hey, Tablam! Always good to see you. In the Fishman fan lore, we have a species of cephalopod people who don't talk, but have innate telepathy and mild telekinesis that don't use the winds. But there's more, because I saw part 2 coming up. Here we go. They use the latter to create sigils out of their ink, which channel the winds of magic, and they then activate them telekinetically, much like dwarves striking a rune to cast a spell, but without using speech. As we then move on to part 3, and again, thank you very much, Tablam. Does this work within the way magic works as written in the Warhammer lore?
These letter create sigils out of their ink, which channels the winds of magic, and then they activate them telekinetically. Oof. That's an interesting.
So, yes and no. Yes, in that, dude, it's all made up.
Yeah, that is such the best place you could start that. Yeah.
And I know that this is going to be a controversial answer to any question, but there's nothing like speaking to somebody about Warhammer stuff, particularly about something that I've written, and them saying, "Oh, but you can't say that because I don't think that's what Games Workshop wants." And going, "Dude, I made it up myself. I literally made it up." And then them said, "But you can't just make things up. You know, it's the Lord." It's like, that's my job, to make things up. And that's what I would suggest here. This is cool. This is cool. And Warhammer always has space for cool. And telepathy is an existing part of the Warhammer world already. Mild telekinesis in some fashion or another is also in there in a variety of places. So I don't think you've got any problems at all. Run with it, have fun with it, and then take a good think about how the winds of magic interact with it. You're correct. There's lots of examples in lore of lots of tweaks and magical stuff that don't look like the winds of magic. But that doesn't mean that you can't then wrap it back into the winds of magic, or indeed into something like the geomantic web or existing magic that floods through the world that's not reliant upon what comes through the gates. All of that has already been introduced into Warhammer in many places. So be free, create cool enjoy it. The most important thing is that it feels Warhammer and it drips Warhammer out of every single pore. And if you've got that, just because it doesn't naturally fit the winds of magic, like, hey, Cathay, it doesn't, that doesn't mean that you can't run along with it and make it your own thing.
Yeah, and what I would also say is for the whole like making like runes or sigils out of ink, that's super easy to do, especially if you have it where like certain creatures of their species or maybe their entire species, I'd probably make it like specific individuals have like an organ that produces like a very magically resonant like substance that they're then able to like, you know, carve sigils, because I mean that works. Like you can write magic into form. I would probably make it somewhat dangerous, or like if the organ is injured in some way, it can have like horrible repercussions. You know, kind of like because that would be a lot of power to contain within a body. But that could absolutely be done. Yeah, I don't
totally
think that's strange at all.
And in fact, Ryan's hit on exactly one of the things that makes Warhammer feel Warhammer, and that's generally consequences. There is no such thing as a free lunch in Warhammer. Whenever you get something cool, there's always a reason that you've got that thing cool. And that reason is often, it being Warhammer, a bit dark and nasty. Anyway, Delasaster? I am terrible at pronouncing names. Just pronouncing. Just wanted to say, all the best for your jaw, Andy. Oh, thanks. I got pulled all but 5 teeth on Friday. Wow, me ouch much. You do ouch much. I feel for you. Just getting one pulled is enough for me to go, oh, God. I'm a pretty good place at the moment. I'm still really, really sore down this side. My jaw aches, but I didn't have all of my teeth bar 5 pulled, so I feel like I don't have anything to say in this, and I'm just going to move on swiftly and say, oh, Fireball, you got Dardeeds for your birthday.
Hey, aww. Congrats. What a great birthday present.
And it's a good opportunity to say, if you haven't bought Dardeeds yet, what is wrong with you? Christmas is coming. There's a link for it sitting inside the comments, possibly, not in the comments, pardon me, inside the video description, possibly. And if there's not, just dive into the server, ping me, and I'll give you a link. So, yeah, let's move on swiftly before I get all caught up in doing adverts. Thatbone6628. So I can call her Steve Minecraft with no issue. Yes, you can. 100%. Yes.
Yep.
She is yours, just like Minecraft is your game.
We might make fun of you for it, but you could do it.
I definitely would. It's a little bit like my daughters when they come to me and said things like, you know, what if I, you know, did drugs or smoked or whatever? It's like, you can do whatever you want. It's your life now. You're grown up now. I will laugh at you. I'm not saying I'll support you in all your decisions, but if they're stupid decisions, I'll call them out. But it's up to you what you do with them. Equally, you want to call him Steve Minecraft? You're entirely free to do so, but I will laugh at you.
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Ranza. I need me got vampire mummy. All hail the bone daddy. Ciao. P.S. Mod of Crostacio's Kingdom in Total War 3.
Oh yeah, the Fishman mod. I've heard about Fish People mod. Though I think that was called Crab People.
I'm glad someone else knew what that was, because I'm just sitting here being an idiot, which is not uncommon. Ricky Chapman, speaking of Ladriel, while prepping for a new Warhammer Black Crusade campaign, fun times, we realized Ladriel isn't in 40k. We're correcting this, quite bloody right too, and a hidden goddess in 40k, particularly for the Eldari, makes a lot of potential sense. I think that works really rather well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be surprised that, like, while a lot of the 40k Eldari lore inspired fantasy, like 7th edition fantasy especially, left it behind. Like, it took off and just it never came back.
Yep, totally. It's really interesting, particularly with the elf gods and the Eldari gods, just how much they pretty much sync up. There's a couple of name differences. There's a couple of little individualities on both sides. But as we hit towards the end of Warhammer Fantasy just goes off in its own direction entirely, leaving behind what had been previous Fantasy and 40k gods in the dust.
And unfortunately, 40k stopped developing its Eldar gods.
It did.
Yeah,
100%. Sticks and Stones gifted 5 Lorebeard sub memberships.
Holy shit! Thank you. That's very generous.
That's enormously generous. You rock. Moving down to, you're just the best, by the way. It was Be'lakor all along. Oh, wait. The gas rises.
Hey, potato.
Dominic Lynch, 6504. What's the chances of getting Finubar in game? God, that would be awesome.
He technically already is, and that's as close as you're ever going to get.
You think so?
The Court of the Phoenix King talks about him a lot. He shows up in like a piece of artwork in the Vortex 2 campaign. I don't think he'll ever be playable, but he's hanging out in the background. I think that's as good as you're ever going to get, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Lord Vorn, gift. Oh, wow, you get 5 Lorebeards memberships as well. Thanks so much,
thank you, guys. Thank you all. We really appreciate that.
And also,
so many green names. So many green names. It's a proper green tide out there. Fedor, thank you very much.
And as we come to the end of this batch, if Andy is put into Total War, he'd probably be loud. What does he want to be a part of? What is one thing from the end times do you want in Total War? I mean, the end times have actually been, from the end times I want in Total War. Holy moly. It's so hard, especially given that they are slowly but surely adding bits for the end times just now anyway. Is there anything from the end times? I'll go through the end time stuff now.
You got what? Thankful and Bone Rippers, Storm Fiends, Vermin Lords.
I mean, the Vermin Lords, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, Vermin Lords would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, they're pretty freaking cool. Maybe what they did with Ladriel and Lilith.
No, oh yeah, everyone's favorite bit.
No, it wouldn't be that. It almost certainly has to be the Eternity King, right? Because he's so awesome.
I mean, honestly, I would take that over the Ladriel Lilith storyline, to be
frank.
Yeah,
so would I, actually. There's no doubt about that in the slightest. If I was put into it, where would I want to be? I wouldn't want to be in Warhammer. It would suck. Given that I'm a human, I'd have to be somewhere that was human-facing, or I'd be in trouble. Cathay looks better than some of the options given. Cathay is perfect. There's no problems there. Chaos has been wiped out, and Cathay is perfect. In fact, it's worth saying that Cathay really does put all other realms in Warhammer to shame. I've read the army lists. I can see it for the truth that it is. However, if we get past that truth to what's actually going on behind, I'd probably end up somewhere where I could speak the lingo, which means, what, nowhere? No, the Empire, it speaks English. It's called Reichspiel.
The way I do it is they add in the Slaanesh super spell from 8th edition called Cacophonic Choir, and it's just Andy screaming about... if you've ever watched Lawhammer, it's just one of those scenes where Andy starts yelling and the whole cast goes, oh! that's the way to do it.
So there we go. That's us gone through all our super chats.
All right, so we have a lot of stuff to dive into today. I am gonna do my best to have like a screenshot up. I also have the game like open and running where I'm gonna be moving around to read a lot of stuff, because if I were to pull up every single little thing I'm gonna read off, it would be ridiculous, and I also can't like run the game necessarily while showing off the game screen because StreamYard gets really choppy because StreamYard. But so today we're gonna start with a character that y'all might be a little surprised we're starting with, because she got a ton of new lore, which is actually the Mask. So the Mask of Slaanesh has been around for a good hot minute. In Warhammer Fantasy, not a crazy long time, but a decent time. Mm-hmm. And to TLDR her, eventually we'd love to do an episode on her, of course, and will in the near future. But she is basically a cursed demonette who was originally one of the most favored. She was one of Slaanesh's absolute favorite critters. But she one day Slaanesh went out and got his ass handed to him by some of his siblings, or their siblings. And when Slaanesh returned and was in a really bad mood, the Mask attempted to perform a great dance in order to cheer Slaanesh up. But the Dark Prince instead interpreted this dance as mocking them rather than trying to make them feel better. So Slaanesh got incredibly angry and cursed the Mask so that she would never be able to stop dancing. She would never rest. And she would be cursed to dance forever, no matter how tired she gets or how much pain she's in, and yada, yada, yada. So that was kind of it. And we got like little snippets, like literally just a couple of little lines about like, oh, this is what this dance is kind of about. But it wasn't super specific. And then here comes Total War rolling up to the scene and doing what they should have done with Skulltaker, where they just give us paragraphs of lore about what the dances are actually about. So I'm going to pull up a screenshot that we just are going to have onto the side, but I'm mostly going to be reading from the game as we work our way through the dances, and hopefully y'all can hear me normally, even if I'm going to look a little choppy, but just deal with it.
We're all good. Am I choppy on my side? Because you're choppy, but I don't feel like I am.
No, you're not. It's just me.
It's just you. And I'm not sure why that happens, because it doesn't happen with me when I bring up shots.
Oh, yeah, it's because I have the Total War Warhammer open on my screen.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, the first dance we're going to start with is the one you see on screen, which is the Burning Bacchanal. And the Burning Bacchanal is expanded by saying the following text: a purifying choreography that foretells the purging with fire of the gardens of the Fly Lord Nurgle. Survivability is eternal through these rapturous twists and turns, which this tells stat stuff. But so we get the little bit that, okay, the Burning Bacchanal tells a story, is a dance that tells where the mask. So, because for those that know, being a etheric entity like she is, her time doesn't mean anything to the mask. So she tells dances. Her dances tell stories about the future, the past, and the present. And in one of these potential futures, Nurgle is defeated by Slaanesh, and his gardens are burned. So we get that little tidbit, and we go, oh, well, that's cute. But then we get like a couple of, so I'm just going to read through all the text that comes with this, and then we're going to discuss a little bit. So then we get a more, we get a text here, which is from a character, though we don't know who the narrator is, that says, to sup amidst the putrid disarray of the Fly Lord's garden and sweeten its malodorous fumes with our incense. We will weed out Nurgle's rot-hidden experiments and plant a true garden to Slaanesh's darkling delight. Fire will precede the fine fruits of our tending, which shall be ours to savor. Which is fine. And
you know what we think most of, though? So if we've got a Bacchanal, does that mean confirmation we've got Bacchus?
Apparently. I mean...
in Warhammer.
Apparently. Yeah.
There we go.
Someone brought that up on a stream, and it was like, yeah, I guess it does. So there's probably a Slaanesh demon prince named Bacchus around somewhere, which wouldn't be that surprising. All right, so then the thing they do is they have 12 steps that exist for the dance that tell us how the dance could potentially go. So I will read through that, and we'll talk about it. So we have the first step of the stance. And once again, this is something that it may be, but has not yet been. So how exactly the dance goes down is kind of up to you, the player, because you get to decide which steps of the dance actually go through. So you have the glamour upon the roots, which if you were to go this version of the dance, I'll go through all 3 steps. The glamour upon the roots. First, the crass stolidity of rotting roots shall be replaced by glimmering forbiddings, as to preserve us in the garden. Then it says the taming of the bowers. Next, when we have found our footing, we will seek out places both close and secret. What we lose in strength, we gain in surprise. And the final step is basking in our flame, which states, towards the end, we shall grow bold in our newfound sturdiness. Corrosive gusts and the crazed writhing of sharp, poisonous things will only serve to fan our flames. So that's the first little storyline of how it goes down in almost like a poetic verse. Fun. The second one we have is the parting of the vines, which instead says, first, the malicious, stinging vine shall be made pliable at our approach, gentle yet unyielding. The second verse is seeds of sensation, which says the half-formed things crawling in the soil will shiver with pleasure and burst ripely under our regard as we coax their essence into us. And the final step says, rich with the scent of imminent success, the burning incense will bolster our essence and fuel our limbs with cracking ardor, the fuel to our flame. Third one, and once again, we'll go over all these once we get through them all. I realize it's a lot. The third way it could go down is the safe path, which states first, careful steps will usher us into the garden, sheathed in the surety of the Dark Prince's protection. Followed by the quickening step. Next, if not with sharp malice, we shall overcome the burgeoning filth grasping at our feet by endless vigor. And finally, a joyous deliquescence. At last, we will collect the dull coin of death that Nurgle peddles, calling it life. With fire, we will smelt it and remake it into something shining and deathless. And the last potential pathway is the first sparks of malice. First, we will wreathe ourselves in light by which to dance. We will carry the Dark Prince's fire coiled like a serpent as we make our way into the garden. Followed by a coy invitation. We shall savor the Fly Lord's ill intent and invite his regard. For our prince will hide and succor us, even as the plague wind buffet us. And lastly, we have frozen on the pyre. Virulent brutes and pestilential scum alike will stand slack-jawed amidst the maze of our fire-born forms and shiver to ashes amidst their gardens. With the finale of the Dance of Dunces, where all four of these potential timelines meet up, which finally states, their hearth blazing around them, banishment the only way out, Nurgle's servants will dance for the first and last time. Such merriment they're shaking, slothing flesh will serve. And that is the tale of the fall of Nurgle's garden.
Huh. Here you go. Sounds fun.
Yeah. Overall, I do like that they give alternate versions to how the way the stories go down. It does add. I like that this adds to the idea that if you witness the mask dancing, and this was always the intent, but it wasn't ever really super well expressed. Her dance isn't meaningless. Like it's not like some aimless random throwing about. She's like the you think like the war dancers of the elves. She's telling a story. The mask is quite literally putting on almost like more of a theatrical performance, where through like using of her mask that she's constantly spinning around, the staff of masks, and her speaking and her dancing and music that is usually implied that only she can hear, and if you're at the point where you're hearing it, you are super fucked. These are the kind of like the specifics of the tale she's carrying forward, which is fun because it really feels like a perversion of elven culture in a lot of ways, because it's something that's so intrinsic to elves.
Yep, agreed hard. I also quite like the idea of the different expressions of it, suggesting that all of those tales happened and none. Giving the idea that the Aether, which is obviously where it comes from, the realm of chaos, is inconsistent. It doesn't have a single story. There is no realm of chaos as mortals understand it. Mortals understanding the impossibility of the almost timeless dimension that is the realm of chaos, where all things can happen at once, where the impossible can be true, where multiple tales can be told and all be true yet contradictory. And then we bring that into the material realm, into the mortal realms, where law and rules and physics play, meaning that once it comes through to the material realm, only one of those paths will be chosen when it manifests. That's cool. And then it goes away, flits through the Aether again, comes back out, and a completely different tale is told next time, and both of them are true. And that's great. Love it.
All right, we're going to do our next dance, and then we'll get back into Super Chat stuff. So next we have the Pageant of Pain. This tableau of spasmodic movements tells the story of one of Slaaneish's great victories over Khorne. Vicious and reckless movements make up, it's a vicious and reckless dance to indicate how things went. And the mask describing the dance says, "Oh, how the howling hound does gnash his teeth upon his charnel throne to always stem the flow of our delight. From the dimmest then, in quotes, in the depths of time and ever on, he hates will hate our master. Yet it is the prince and us that lead the dance of chaos. Let Khorne, rage bound, bring to bear any measure of might, for we will equally oppose it as we were made to do. Hate is chaos. We allow it. Yet chaos is not merely hate. We have prevailed against the hound and will again. Fun quote.
Yep.
And then, just like last time, we have 4 possible pathways leading up to a conjoined finale, so I'll just run through those. So we have a barbed grasp. Let brutish flailing fists land in our embrace, for it is a viciously clawed one, and we will let fly the blood they love so much. Followed by madness and revelry. In shapeliness of form and sharpness of claw, we far outdo the hordes of Khorne. Now see us caper, mimicking their mindless madness. I like how insulting these are. And then the divestment, which is the finale of this one. Minds bent on bloody destruction, and you clothe yourself in cowardly accoutrements of safety. When those are shed, what is left? Nothing. This one makes people throw their armor off, which is very biting coming from Slaanesh to Khorne. Another way it goes down is lithe and deadly. The frailty of slender blades belies their sharpness, and we are as sharp as we are slender. Then we have...
Mask's not that slender.
No,
muscular.
She's swole. I actually love her design in Total War.
Pretty awesome.
She is ripped. Unfettered they. Well, technically they use she because that's what Games Workshop does. But
interesting.
I think if you were to get into the technicalities of it, like giving any demon a gender,
I mean, it's a demon. I mean, exactly. Male, female, what difference does it make?
Yeah. The next step is unfettered desire. Battle lust is the only kind Khorne's curs are capable of. Our palate is much wider. But if it is battle lust they want, by the prince they shall have it. And then the last step for this one is descent into dissolution. Flights of fury, wing-born thirst for blood. But we have caught wind of you and fashioned it into a chain. Rattle it all you want. It will be you who will break first.
Sure.
Right. So I will say, I do like that the tone of this compared to Nurgle is very, very different. This feels like it's very taunting and like making fun of Khorne for something that has happened. Whereas Nurgle, it definitely felt like a story being told about what will come to pass. Our third path, carved with care. I love that name. The Khornate's spittlesome fervor provides an edge to their lowliest zealots. Zeal is crass for our taste, but we have edges to spare. Followed by insurmountable sensation. The ravening red hordes bolster their form with muscle and steel. The substance of our desire for excess may be ethereal, but it is inexorable, insurmountable.
Insurmountable!
And then lastly, murderous libations. Blood fuels Khorne's base fires for a time. That which fuels... That which is imbibed fans flames beyond one's capacity to comprehend. And then the last path is a manic rush. Naked and exposed, our prince burst forth from unformed chaos into his perfect form, despite the hound's murderous ministrations. We revere both his gleeful spite and the urgency of his emergence. I do like that whenever it says his, it's capitalized. That one's actually interesting. Because that one suggests that Khorne knew Slaanesh was coming and wanted to stop it. And failed. That one's cool. I like that one. The next step is the give and the take. No deliverers of pain are more insistent in their worship than the hound's brutes. Among those who receive pain and return it, none are more devoted than we are. And then the last step is the bitter end. Running away from battle is death, is it not, Khornates? And pressing on, though battered, is your bitter claim to glory. No, it is also death.
Oh, well, there you go. Dead Khornate people. Great.
And then where they all meet up, the final thing says, the flow of desire. Once begotten, Slaanesh will never cease. Such is desire. We carry but a glimmer of it, but it is enough to spark an endless urge that Korn's red-jowled baying cannot hope to stop. Fun. Fun. Cute. Fun.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
That's fun.
Now, Andy's been nodding, going, "Oh, this is okay. This is all right. This is good." The next two, I bet Andy's gonna go, "Oh, oh, oh."
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm ready. Go.
Okay. You know what? Let's get these over with. Then we'll do super chats. Next, second to last, we have the Symphony of Excess. This dance looks to the future, foretelling the caging of the insolent trickster god Loek. Embrace the suffering of the elves through lithe movements, and grind your foes before the euphoric crescendo of the charge. And the mask gives us her quote here that says Loek! Exclamation mark, ... Yeah. His crude aspect mocks our prince's incomparable gifts at every step. Grace and gaiety, subtlety and shadow. He has no more of that than a foxling staggering through forest foliage. He crawls along the depthless void and steals those souls that should have fallen in Slaaneash's grasp. But luck shall not avail him in the end. Careless steps will carry him into that same grasp where princely fingers will close on him like a cage, as befits such a lowly animal. Someone's a little bit annoyed that Loek's been stealing some souls from what they consider to be their soul bank. Someone's a little pissy. I like how angry that sounds. Yeah. All right, so how is Slaanesh brought to justice in the 4 potential paths? I don't know. We have a foolish flight. The elven aim is always true, they say, but the harm it will do to us is as false as Loek's promises to those who worship him, and as false as his arrogance. Followed by the pursuer's ruse. In hollow hope, the capering godling will look back at his hunter's lolling tongue and imagine him tired. It is but our prince's beauteous leer guiding Loek to his final trap. Of course. And then the final one is the master's pleasure. In the end, our prince will lay his palm on Loek's shoulder and whisper a greeting in his ear. Neither running nor struggle will serve, only servitude. Yay! Yay! Happy end! Yay! The second one is a stray path. The bow of Loek's lowly deceit drawn, arrows loosed, only to be turned aside by the one who brooks no deceit. This shall be the first inkling of his failure. Mm-hmm. Followed by an awareness of appetite. The predator's step slows, his flanks tremble. Is he about to pounce? As Loek's uncertainty grows, so shall his pursuer's appetite swell with the feast to come. A good Slaanesh swelling, I approve. As you do. With the finale of this one being the consuming waltz. When the prince has his last dance, Loek will pray for the power to refuse. Yet does a god who prays not offer his essence for another to sup on? That's a good classic. Oh, God's praying. Yeah. To who? Now? What? The third option is the Shadow's Shiver. The trickster godling prides himself on letting shadows take his enemies' blows for him. Chaos magic does not discriminate. First it shall fell his shadows, then him. Second step is a ravening urgency. Pain is a meal consumed through the skin. It is our prince's milk and ours. There are other more rarefied savors that he has saved for Loek, who so loves his feasts. He's basically just saying, Loek, I fucking hate you. Yeah, basically. Which is I love how much it feels like Slaanesh is crashing out almost entirely through all of these dances. The whole thing is like, fucking Loek! Yeah. The unmasking is the final step for this dance, which says, in the end, Loek's mask of shadow-dappled leaves will fall away. Underneath it, there was never strength. His laughter will cease. Without it, there was never a voice.
He's really not loving the Shadow's Coil, is he?
Nope.
Shadow Coil gets deployed, so Slaanesh gets pissed. Your shadows mean nothing. They mean nothing. I can kill your shadows. I'll kill everything else too. I'll kill everything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, like, despite like the whole great game thing, you can tell how bitter Slaanesh is towards Loek versus everything else. The last dance option is
first step. Kyle. How's that going to go down?
Yeah. We'll see with the next step.
Okay.
So for the final Loek option, you have the scent carries. Mundane form means nothing in the fleshless realms, yet there we feel in full the luxuriant touch of the winds. How less affectionate they shall be as they catch Loek's scent. Pleasures of the chase. We let ourselves be touched, so we may be pursued. It is how our master will toy with the shadow dancer. But in godly games of merriment and cruelty, there was only ever one winner.
You know, this is reminding me of. Reminding me of this is going to sound like a somewhat left field thing, but I'm going to run with it anyway. It reminds me of a recent Taylor Swift song. Exactly.
Oh boy.
What? But I'm going there. Where she basically says, all those people that hate me, it's kind of like a love story, really. All you people who claim to hate me, I think you actually really like me. It's kind of, romantic. That's what it feels like. This feels like more of a teasing romance than a love-hate romance, perhaps, but a romance nonetheless, rather than the so-called hatred. I really hate you, Loek, because all I can do is talk about Loek. Are you by any chance thinking about Loek a lot and his slender limbs?
The last step of this particular version of the dance, the quote goes, in the end, the pursuit will stop when Slaanesh decides. Loek will know there was never an escape. The path only ever led to the cage, now open, waiting. Man, this dude's horny.
Basically, what we summarize from all of that is Slaanesh is horny for Loek.
Yeah,
let's be honest, not a great surprise.
Yeah, the final converge point is the path to nowhere. Poor Loek the Lost. Is he here or is he there? He is nowhere in the void.
So he ends up getting out anyway, lost in the paths in between, effectively in the webway. He's gone.
Yeah, basically. All right, and then the final one before we get into super chats and stuff, and we'll kind of chat about these because these add a lot of character and flavor to the mask of like the way the dances are told. Like you can tell the story, you can tell the dance of Loek is meant to piss Slaanesh followers off. It's to get them furious, get them fucking angry, and get them like, Rah! Whereas Korn is more of like a mocking. Like making fun of their enemies, making them taunt and like cackle and gleeful, and Nurgle is like a very triumphant, here's how we're gonna win, here's how we're gonna endure and survive and turn his curses.
We're not gonna give in to your despair.
Yeah. So the last one is, and so this one you have to finish the other three dances before you can get this one. So this is the final dance. This most violent of dances.
At the end of the wedding, last dances are being called.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This most violent of dances depicts the final battle in Twilight of the Gods, Ranadandra.
Oh, so they're really, really elf coding this.
Yeah, an advanced arrangement when only a climactic ending will do. And our quote from the mask, it tells us, whatever. Our final dance will be fierce with the knowledge that then we dance no more. And so we'll seek to spend ourselves all at once. A maddened squall will carry us to burst the seas from their seams and lift the earth into the sky and make the air shimmer in the heat haze of our passion. We'll spin and spin and spin and cease. the final curtain will drop upon all worlds and all time. And yet, our prince will have the final word. A question. Beyond all space, after all time, ... Might there be more?
Well, of course there is.
There's always more.
Realm of chaos.
Yep. And plus, we got to make money. We got to print money. We got.
Yeah, totally.
All right. So there, like all the other dances, there are 4 ways Ranadandra goes down, according to Slanesh, or according to the
interesting. No, this genuinely interests me. I mean, I love myself a bit of elf lore because elf lore got completely ignored in the end times. And you might go, but what about the Kane book? I don't believe they ever made that book.
All right, so here we go. Also, Ranadandra is spelled in a way I've never seen before in here, which seems like
how did they spell it?
Because it's RHAN apostrophe K apostrophe apostrophe ADANRA.
Okay.
Well, no, the K would be separate. So it'd be
if you put an apostrophe in, that generally means a glottal stop, like
So it'd be Ron.
So a lot of people forget that, but Be'lakor probably is Bel-Akor. If you were pronouncing it according to the way it's spelled,
because there's a apostrophe on both sides of the K, so it'd be 2 stops.
Yeah, that'd be like it's like no, it's like pronouncing butter without using the T. So you go butter.
Oh, so it'd be. So the K would be muted. Okay.
No, it'd go ukka.
Oh, so Rockadon.
Run-ukka.
Oh,
what's next?
Adanra.
Adanrun. Run-ukka Adanrun. That's bullshit.
Yeah. But I would not be shocked if they just who knows where they got the spelling from. It could also just be a spelling error.
That bullshit up. As I said earlier in the stream, creative types just make shit up. Add it to the lore. Other people try to make sense of it.
I'll message them about it. Be like, did you do a spelling error here? Because that has happened before a lot. And then they go, oops, and they fix it. So I'll message them about it. All right. Anyway, so the first step of the first path, the stage. In the eye of oblivion, hulking size is but a speck. Hurtling speed is stillness. Unlike our adversaries' brutish troops. Tropes? T-R-O-U-P-E-S? Troops. We know it. The second step is the weakening winds. The winds wither like leaves in winter. Would this be how the end begins? This uncertainty may haunt the sweep of our steps, yet in that there is beauty also.
Okay.
That almost implies Chaos is like worried that it's gonna die as well, which is fun. And then the last step of this path is the solid airs. When the winds are no more, their last withered gusts will harden and fold into matter and fall. We will chart our dance's course around the blades of air.
Okay. This is interesting. And is that the last point?
That's the last point of that.
So the last one is a little bit, we didn't actually destroy the material realm at all.
Well, it's good. Remember there's a convergence point where they all meet up at the very, very end. That's the end of that path, but the convergence point I'll do at the very end. The second path says the costumes. The dance of all that will end in nothing. And so we must give all of ourselves by forsaking the conceits of safety.
Sure.
Second step is the devoted dancers. The great will dance to the last until they stagger in the murky twilight, footing lost, no feet to dance with, but not yet.
Cool. Okay, so they're off in a pavilion of despair. Sounds good. Next.
And the final one is the burning waters. When the seas dry...
Sounds like a bad trip to the toilet.
Yeah. Yeah. When the seas dry, essences break all souls, their vessels.
You've gone silent. You're back. Yeah, you're back.
That was weird. Okay.
Maybe it was just me what you went silent for, but you definitely went silent for me.
Okay. The burning waters. When the seas dry, essences will break all souls, their vessels, and spill in fiery tides that we alone can withstand.
Okay, so all the souls blow up. Great. Nice end. That's what you get for dancing too much.
That's what you get for partying too hard, kids.
Yeah.
Third pathway is the players. If we take our cue from others in this performance, we may as well cut off our legs. To lead this dance, we will shear off the other's legs, if need be.
Oh, you are so clever, Slaanesh.
So clever. The second step is more than desire. The elemental essence of desire from which our prince has made us will be unmade in the end. After that, the dissolution of others may feed our curiosity.
Sure.
I don't even know what that one's supposed to mean. And then the last step for this path is the airless fires, which says, when there is nothing left to feed any fire, one will keep burning still, made of what is left of us, the children of chaos, and we will dance across the void to set it ablaze.
Yeah, it sounds like the end of chaos as they understand it, a rebirth of something new. I will say, though, that I think appropriately for Slaanesh, this is one gigantic dick tease. The whole idea of this being somehow related to Ranadandra and the elves is bullshit. It is not. It's just three paths of different ways that everything can blow up in the end times, and we end up with our culmination point being...
not yet. We got one last path.
Oh, we've got one last. We've got a path. We've only done three. We've got one left. Yes, of course.
So we have the first step, the choreography. We will forgive our dancing partners' hurtful, infelicitous form. There is no time to teach them, but stay still and our feet will be trodden upon through our own fault.
Yep. Sounds good.
More than sensation. In the final moments, with no eyes to see and with no bodies to propel us, we shall catch a glimpse of all that is no more and sense the greater presences amongst our own kind.
Cool. And what's the last one?
The matterless earth.
Of course.
When earthly matter breaks into primeval clay and breaks again and again, it will become a deathly wind saturated in magic.
What, you mean like the mortal realms? This is all beginning to feel like we've got four different routes towards what comes after Warhammer.
They literally did air, water, earth, fire as the final step for the four paths.
So it burns through one of the elemental processes, the world blows up, whatever, and at the end, does it say just Age of Sigmar? Is that the last one?
Basically. So the finale is called The Ending Without End.
Oh, of course.
And then there will be no more dancers and no stage. A memory of destruction turning on itself again and again and again.
Oh, it's deep, man. It's deep. The dick tease of Ranadandra involving literally nothing to do with all the other gods at all is pretty upsetting to me.
Well, clearly that's why Slaanesh spelled it wrong. He doesn't know what it actually means.
He doesn't know what it is. Yeah, I can go with that one. Oh, man. That was, it was a bit of a dick tease. I'm very amused.
It's cute. All right. So let's get caught up on Super Chats and stuff, and then we're going to head off to the next topic.
Am I going to pick up since I know where we were last time?
Yes, you are.
So I will indeed. I do believe we're here. Sean Schultz, if Andy is to put into total war... no, we just did that one. So we just moved to the next one. Cheesy Sword. Who wins in a dance-off? The Mask of Wurzag.
The Mask by like 1 billion miles.
Like by an enormous amount. I mean, did you even need to ask? Thanks very much for the super chat. Antonio, with the next DLC, we will have the hope to have Shoinen in Total War 3. Is that going to be a Shorin?
Yeah, probably Ushorin.
I think so.
I would be shocked if we got Ushorin.
Hugely shocked.
Yeah, only because he's a very prominent figure in AOS. He's a huge figure in AOS. So I agree completely.
The likelihood of it crossing over to me is almost nil, because they seem to be trying to keep Age of Sigmar and Warhammer discreet as much as they possibly can, except for where they don't, because look, there's Teclis. But you get what I mean. Moving on, later, love the design of the mask in Total War. Finally, muscular daemonettes. Ooh, so swole.
Yeah, it is nice to see more variety. Demonettes are supposed to like have a wildly crazy. I mean, all demons are supposed to be very, very varied, and for the sake of simplicity and sanity, they tend to, formulate them into very specific forms to make things easy, but allowing her to look like what she realistically should, which is the body of a hardcore dancer, which if you've ever seen an actual dancer's body, they're ripped. Like they are not dainty people. So I'm glad they did that.
Note, not a dancer. Ricky Chapman, the mask in our Chaos campaign. Always enjoy these, Ricky. We had a dancer from End who was taught by the mask. And they also made a child together in a living, twisted sound that brings sweet agony to all who hear them as they dance.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, let's move on, because that sounds awful. Love it, Ricky. Hey, Tablam, Sotek, remember to drink. It will be a long stream with all those readings. Make sure Bacchanal is just, also surely Bacchanal is just a variant of Bacata. As for what changed, do we have a second one coming in? Because if we do, I don't see it. So I'm just going to presume that the ... is just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. Also, thank you so much, Dowie Forever. You rock.
Oh yeah, thank you very much for becoming a member. Welcome to you're green now.
Yeah,
that's our power.
You're green Club. Gideon Gleeful 95. It says grind them to dust, but given it's a dance, I'm picturing the mask literally grinding on someone like they're in a nightclub of presumably dust.
I mean, sure. I feel like the age of dance that she's supposed to be invoking is a little bit more sophisticated than that, but like, sure, why not?
Ground to dust, they are. Firefoot, why am I so late? You slept in. No. Work went on too long. I don't know. Are you going to answer it yourself? Let's find out. How could the fisherman do this? I was the fisherman. Should have known. Anyway, how's it going? It's going well. Do you both think we'll get Total War Ants announcement on Thursday?
Wouldn't that just be Tyranids? Like, just
kind of close.
I don't know. I feel like, sure, sure. Why not?
Where is Loic? You don't know him. He's in Canada, says Gideon. I feel like I'm missing something there.
Oh, that's an American. Probably not purely an American joke, but it's a joke that like kids in high school will be like, oh, I have a girlfriend, like I have a super hot girlfriend. They're like, okay, well, where is she? It's like, well, she doesn't go here. She's Canadian, like she's from Canada.
Singemeisters, either of you fellas ever play Cyberpunk 2077? It's funny you should say that, Singemeister, because we literally mentioned this about 2 streams back, I think. Was it 3? Something like that. Where I had very recently completed it again for the, I don't know how many times. Was it 2 back? Thanks. For the umpteenth time. And yes is the answer. And it was the first time I played the Phantom of Liberty DLC, because I took quite a long gap between playing it for the first and second time, and then the DLC came out, and I didn't play for quite some time after that. And it was really quite good. Really good, in fact. The reason I played Cyberpunk is because I also had just completed the Vampire the Masquerade game, another tabletop roleplay game from the 90s, and it was bad. Bad enough I completed it 3 times, but it was bad. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Fet Bone 6628. Radical opinion. Okay, here we go. But the Lustrian Death Bowl is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess. But I also think in a lot of ways that makes it exciting, because you never know how it's going to turn out, because they've been doing some pretty good improvements to like different AIs will come out on top. So like sometimes the good guys will win, sometimes the bad guys will win. And there's like a good set of alliances that are starting to build up among the various factions there. Plus like Lustria is supposed to be a hellhole, to be fair. So the Lustrian Death Bowl, I don't have a huge problem with it. I would love, don't get me wrong, I would love for Creative Assembly to come out and be like, hey, we're gonna expand the land mass and add some more provinces and like stretch it out a little bit. I would be hugely in favor of that, but I don't hate it.
And to a degree, Total War, every time it adds a new character, it's just creating more death bowls in various parts of the map anyway. It's just how it builds. And Raging Pacifist, If T'Challa is immortal, and Azazel, or Azazel if you prefer, a demon prince, shouldn't they be switched between Horses and the Monogon factions? Well, there is a big thing about how exactly Chaos is split already, though.
Yeah, so if you want to get super specific, I remember there was a discussion about this when Azazel got announced, and the TLDR of it was that they knew already what they wanted to do with T'Challa at that point, which was put her in Slaanesh as the mortal champion, and they did not have plans to make a Demon Prince character for each of the monogods because Games Workshop didn't actually design very famous Demon Princes for each of them. Like there's Azazel, and that's kind of it. There's and Be'lakor. Like Fantasy didn't get a lot of really famous Demon Prince characters. Like there are Demon Princes, but they're usually like offhandedly mentioned, and they weren't like playable. Yeah, and they weren't like playable special characters. So there was like this weird mismatch. And so they decided to put Azazel in with the Warriors of Chaos, where I think if they had been looking from if they had Total War planned from the beginning, they probably would have put Sigvald there instead, but Sigvald was already in the game. So they had to replace Sigvald because he's already in the game. So they said, okay, well, we'll replace him with Azazel, even though he's a Demon Prince. But so you're not wrong by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just kind of the way the dominoes ended up falling.
Chaos is a mess.
Yeah. Plus the whole conceit of how Total War. Yeah. The whole thing of how Total War splits them up. So the idea that each monogod faction is its own thing, and the Warriors of Chaos is its own thing, and the Demons of Chaos are their own thing, and the Beastmen are their own thing, and Norska is its own thing is absolutely ludicrous. That's not how it works.
It's a mess. Chaos is somewhat of a mess in Total War. It's fun and it's awesome and it's got lots of cool shit in it, but it's a bit of a mess. Need extra sleep, don't we all? Man. Anyway, random connection. But in Legend of Zelda's Majora's Mask, you can make undead dance in Ikana Castle depending on the mask you wear.
That's very true. Also, that game's a fucking masterpiece. I love that game.
I have not played it for so long, I can barely remember it. I might pick it up again. Long time. A really long time. Anyway, thank you, the Lord Cypherist. You kick ass. Join the green team.
Hey, man, y'all are going fucking crazy on the membership stuff. We appreciate it.
It's not quite the last. It's kind of a shame Ashland's style of faction has only been introduced now because it fits with a lot of legendary lords that aren't Empire rulers. It would have worked great for people like that dick, Gelt. And when someone comes up with a new funky mechanic for the game, then they realize, crap, we could have done that before. Nothing new. That's often when you're reaching the tail end of a game's life cycle and you then move into the next edition. 3 has been out for quite a while, and in another world, we might have been moving into a 4 anytime soon. I'm not sure that world is coming anytime soon, though.
It's just one of those things where there's always I think that unfortunate reality with any video game, especially where the earlier you get content, the sooner you get access to it, which is great, but it also inevitably means the shittier it's going to be because it's the early experiment and not the tried, tested, true, we know what we're doing now thing that comes at the end. I agree with you completely.
However, the Lord Cypherist, as cool as the Skeleton Pope design is for Nagash, I kind of hope Total War does a unique, halfway point design. Also, love your streams. And I love your comments.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Cypherist. I don't think GW would let them. That's a very prominent modern mini. I think GW would be if you change that, we will shoot you.
Yeah, totally. And it was also released at the tail end of Warhammer's release, so it's a Warhammer model. So it's not say, for example, they only have one option, and it's the old model. And then Age of Sigmar came along and created something new. Nagash is an old model. So, yeah, we're going to almost certainly have ourselves our skeleton Pope. Antonio Ranza, question. Lizardmen in James Cameron's Avatar. Okay. What would happen to the humans and the Na'vi of Pandora?
It depends. Are they part of the Great Plan or not?
That's a really left field one there.
I mean, they would probably be spooky, nightmarish horrors that live out in the jungles and cause problems.
I'm trying to come up with an answer that has anything that bears strong relevance here, but I think ultimately it does depend upon what are the lizardmen doing there. And assuming that they've arrived on Pandora, what is the great plan that they're pursuing? If the great plan is just the standard great plan, everything will probably fall before them, as it did all the way back during the Cataclysm. And just to finish off, hey to Blam, thank you so much for joining on the Green Team. And of course, Siegfried, KKP.
Thank you all so much. Like, I cannot genuinely express how much the memberships are super helpful to us. Like, we're going to be working really hard to get like things for y'all to enjoy soon, like emotes and stuff. We'll do that. I wasn't expecting people to actually be using it. So we really appreciate it, because that is like a really awesome way to support us on like a consistent basis, which would mean the world to us, because that gives us like a cushion that's there more reliably, which is awesome.
We do like cushions.
So we really, really appreciate it. But it is now time to move on to the next topic, which I'm very excited about, because this is just another one of those ones where me and Andy get to high five and go, we were right. Which is that we got, if I can get to the right. No. Damn it. Come on, Steam. Why you gotta hurt me like this? Yeah, show on disc, please. Thank you. Is it at
go up the right window? You can do it, Ryan.
Yeah. Oh, that's because I fucked up. That's why. Okay, hold on. I can fix that.
While you're doing that, I'm just bringing up from one of our members. Member says been missing for a while. We need that green again. Thank you so much. And you're absolutely spot on from another one of our members. I just love saying that. Such professional. That is exactly what we are. We are stunning online professionals. We never make errors. I don't read any of your comments wrong. And Ryan, every single time, never loses the file that he was looking to bring up on screen.
Never. I never thought I took a screenshot of something and actually didn't. Never once in my life have I done that. And then I have
100%. So have you got it?
No, because I'm clicking on the thing I need to get to. Can't wait for Ryan to talk in Italian. How dare you? I mean, that will be coming soon, but how dare you? Still not used to Sotek being Ryan. If it makes you feel better, I'm not used to it either. But we got to get used to it. It's good. It's healthy. It's normal.
I suggest for those of you looking for your Sotek fix, go over to Sotek's channel, because that's Sotek there. It's Sotek. And he gets all of his best greeny lizardman goodness out over there. However, here in Lorebeards, he's a solid Ryan.
Yeah, I have different I have different priorities here. There we go. Now I've got it. Oh my god.
Oh, and while we're doing that, so much thanks to Giga Golgantes. Thank you so much for becoming a member. You absolutely rock. Welcome to the Green Team.
Yeah, also I'm
interrupting you because Luke Newcomb has also joined in the Green Team. You also kick ass. Thanks very much.
Luke Newcomb. Yes, his lesser known but very popular brother. Yeah. Also, holy shit. To Plum? No. Okay, so I just realized that this is a slight fault with StreamYard, but at least I caught it. To Plum isn't a mere, no offense to everyone else that's green, he's not a mere lore seeker. He's a lore lord, which is a higher tier that I bullshit added in because I was like, no one's going to use this, but I might as well put it in. That's not like $5 a month. That's like $30 a month or something like that. Now, he's a lord. He's no mere seeker of lore. He's a lord of lore.
Loremaster.
Bullshit is my middle name. Excellent. All right, so next up, we have my favorite thing ever, which is always when Lorebeards is right. The new.
Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to Lorebeard being right. Let's go.
We have the new big major first skill for the Famir Noble, which states, favored by the matriarch. These creatures are born to lead and march for greatness, chosen the moment they hatch by the Famir matriarch of their stronghold. You heard it here first. Months ago, Famir hatch from eggs. They don't need humans. They hatch from eggs. They fixed it. Someone watched Lorebeards and went, fix those Famir. They're not weird anymore.
Cheers. Thank you, Creative Assembly.
Cheers.
I will take this moment to directly call you out for the awesome lore changes that you managed to get into place. Thank you so much for tackling Games Workshop's licensing team and getting them to agree to what is quite clearly a much better outcome. And if it came from Games Workshop, I then twist this around and say, thank you, Games Workshop licensing department, for deciding to make this change because it is long needed.
It just makes more sense. It just makes more sense.
It does.
It's
that's pretty awesome.
Do you know how many like major species that we have that come from eggs in Warhammer? Very few. Shockingly few.
I remember the discussion that was had with Andy all the way back when Total War 3 came out, and about the Dragon Kids and their kids, and did they come from eggs? There was a whole discussion over in the Rookery about that, because he came out, because we did, bizarrely, Inside the Rookery did the launch stream with him. I'm not entirely sure why we did it, but we did it. So on the day of the launch, and right at the point of launch, he was live streaming with us. And that question came up. So if you want to know about that, there's an ancient stream all the way back in the Inside the Rookery catalog where that is discussed directly.
Does that mean you could take an egg and raise a Famir NPC? Yes. It would be horrifically dangerous, but you could. And being a wizard, be like, oh no, this is my familiar. Which I feel like is always the answer to when you have a heretical creature in your party. Is the wizard being like, it's just a familiar.
As Siegfried, our member, says, Fimmer omelets.
So yeah, one of the other things that they've added in for the Famir Noble that I actually find of interest, and they actually reinforce this a couple times on several different skills. Not just their unnatural flesh and hardened skin is something that's very specifically called out about the Famir Nobles, is that they regenerate. So not regular Famir, but the Famir Nobles, we have two quotes that I'll read off. So the first one says, the Famir Nobles' unnatural flesh twists and writhes to seal wounds moments after they're inflicted, which is followed up with the hardened skin, which I apparently also didn't get a screenshot of, but I'll just read it off in game. Fine, I'm tired. That says, hardened skin. Maybe it is the near constant state of regeneration that gives the hide a toughened sheen, almost impervious to claw, talon, or blade.
Nice. That's good. I'm really looking forward to seeing where the Fimmer go. They are controversial. We've discussed them in a previous Lorebeard. You should go check it out. It was a pretty damn good one. And it's nice to see that Games Workshop is finally wrestling with its problematic past with the Fimmer and bringing something hopefully new to the table.
Yeah, I actually really full agree. B, I really enjoy kind of some of the unique little developments we're getting, which whether or not these will end up sticking for the, like, I feel like the egg thing honestly is probably going to stick hard because they had to get that approved by GW, put it in the game.
Yep.
And that's not something you just accidentally slip in. But like the whole like regenning thing for the Famir Noble, it would be exciting to see that return as well. The idea that some of the older Famir and more powerful Famir, A, just regenerated all is very spooky. But B, the idea that they also have that actually reminds me of another thing about them that I have to find here real quick. But the other thing I would find really interesting about the Famir is the idea that they them having like a gross sheen to their flesh that is representative of the fact that their flesh is constantly kind of like always moving and churning and adding to, showing that kind of chaotic taint is excellent. Like that the Famir nobles are those that still have the blessing of chaos in a sense, for a species that in many ways feels that they have lost the blessing of chaos. They naturally secrete null oil. That is hysterical. Man, they're just sweating money. That's great. That also actually I think works really well for one of the things that's mentioned in game for the Famir Noble is that I don't remember exactly where. I think it's on an item you can get for them, but there's a mention for the Famir Noble that I'll talk about as I'm looking for it, that their armored plates are part. So like, they have these like big plates of armor that they stack up on their backs. Which is why they have like that big hunchback look. And a significant part of that is apparently cultural. And it revolves. Here it is. Skin hidden plates. So this states the Famir's uniquely scaling skin and regeneration allows the embedding of armored plates to increase their stature as well as their resilience. Nice. Though when they take significant injury, this causes them to shed swiftly.
Ah, cool. I like that.
Yeah, so I love the idea that it's not like, that's not like, oh, they have big back plates like turtles. It's literally they're fusing armor into their flesh that it then kind of heals over. And it makes them bigger. That is like important in their culture for like showing status, is making your back big. Which is awesome. And I would also love if that ties into maybe the matriarchs have like big humpbacks naturally, and maybe the regular Famir try and emulate it. Also, the other quote I was looking for, I actually just saw by accident right here, which is Famir Noble, groomed by the matriarch of its stronghold since a hatchling. Once again, so they do hatch. Famir Nobles boast cunning intellect, overbearing bulk, and the loyalty of their tribes. But I'm really, really pleased by the information they added here. Like, there's a couple of like fun little cultural tidbits. Like getting the confirmation of the egg stuff is really, really good. I am very fond of this. I'm very fond of it.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like that. There's a smile on my face.
You know, we and Andy always love when we can go, we were right. We were right.
Yep. Anything that makes my head bigger definitely gets my vote. I love it all. All right, let's dive back into some of the super chats here. JJWA. Absolutely loving the deluge of Lorebeards coming out. The very best of luck for the expansion of the channel and your viewership. Thank you very much. We're enjoying it deeply. And if you haven't started watching 40k Lorebeards, or indeed having a look over at Lorebeards Book Club, go take a check over our YouTube channel. They're all sitting up there waiting for your watching delight.
Yeah, and what I'll also add is, if you'd want to help out, what we would really appreciate is if you know like any groups of friends or local communities that would love to hear about Lorebeards, to maybe, you know, pass our link along or whatever, or like, you know, drop it in like your favorite subreddit or your favorite forums. We would really appreciate it.
Oh, heck yeah. That'd be awesome. Hey, John Silver Hawkins. Oh, thank you very much for joining the green team, you lore seeker god. Moving down to Biofoot. Think we'll ever do painting streams here? Interesting you should say that. It's possible. I'm actually breaking out paints just now because I'm getting a delivery of new bits and bobs that I'm going to be painting. And I may do some streamy goodness with it, but I may not. Lindsay was also considering it as well because she's got some painting that she wants to do. So maybe?
Yeah. What I'll say is the answer is just yes, but it will almost assuredly just be on the Twitch channel. It'll kind of be one of those kind of like off time streams as opposed to like a dedicated time slot. Unless someone just gets really into it and is like, I want to do this every week. In which case, sure, they could do that. But as of right now, it would probably just be like bonus streams, which the current formatting we have at the moment is that Twitch will be used for purely bonus streams on its own, not YouTube as of the moment. Yeah, but that may change. But for right now,
that sounds amazing. The Zero Daimu just became a YouTube member. The green was too tempting. Joined the club. Thank you very much.
Ashcall, just want to say, welcome to the stream. We showed off your artwork earlier because it was so pretty. Thank you for doing that. It was excellent. Thank you.
I'm delighted you managed to wake up in time to miss your art being shown near the beginning of the stream. You're just going to have to dive back to it and watch it afterwards. Gideon, now the big question. Okay, here we go. The big question. Do you think they need male Fimmer to fertilize those eggs? Or do you think they are self-fertilizing and just produce mostly non-egg producing males? I'd say probably they're fertilizing with males.
Yeah, I would imagine that the Famir nobles compete very hot, and the Balefiends compete very hotly over the honor of being the ones that are chosen to fertilize the eggs.
I mean, yeah, they're focusing on fertility. They might even make the Balefiends, for example, infertile, making the nobles fertile, making the drones effectively infertile, the basic warriors. So there's lots of ways they could play around with it, but I think they're going to be fertilizing them through some relatively normal route.
Yeah, because I could see that would be like a really important cultural aspect, and that's something that also allows the matriarch to pull at threads of cultural power, because that's something that's on offer. So like there are like fertilization rights or breeding rights or whatever you want to call them that exist of you get to pass on to the next generation if you prove yourself worthy, and that's a huge deal for like the Famir that serve the matriarchs.
Yep, sounds good. Elemental exposure, Nurgle to S tier. Rises. Thanks very much for that one. Stellar Rising. The Fimmer lore is not new, and it's not from CA. It's been a thing for half a decade in Age of Sigmar.
I mean, that's cool, but that also got like obliterated out of existence. Because that wasn't an. How do I say this carefully? When Age of Sigmar First Edition launched, there were a lot of things that got catapulted. Everything that existed in fantasy got catapulted into AOS. Literally everything. There were no exceptions. So every single Monstrous Arcanist thing, Tarmacon, like everything that existed and had a mini from Forge World or GW got catapulted into the setting and
Kurt
got...
Hellborg.
Yeah, Kurt Hellborg, literally, Thorgrim Grudgebearer, everybody got catapulted into the setting, was given a little lore blurb about who they were, and some of them got like slight little updates and stuff like that. So that's cool, but I also would say that that's not something that CA would have had access to, because if they were published as little PDFs and thrown away, especially because those were legacy rules, you couldn't actually use them in legal games, and it was some random person at Forge World wrote those, not the head studio. And they got discontinued and they're not canon anymore to the core setting, because Tarmacon is not canon to the core setting. Neither is any of the other stuff that came out in that time. So that's a great fun fact, but I wouldn't say that was actually an update to the Famir lore officially, in my opinion.
That seems fair. Antonio Ranza has become a YouTube member because Antonio realizes being green and being a true lore seeker is the best. Thank you very much. Appreciated. Call bien Mani, I have pronounced your name terribly. I feel ill. Nevertheless, snake facts. In Warhammer, there is no coherent definition of mutant that includes RNS Assault Spite, but excludes Bloodrak Medusas. By the way, I'm going on a date with a 6-armed snake woman on December the 4th. Wish me luck. Good luck. I hope it goes well. 6 arms can be very useful in lots of ways.
Yeah, try and keep up. Try and keep up.
Yep, quite. A massive derp. Chaos Taint always gets a chuckle out of me. I'll help myself out.
Bunch of fucking degenerates.
That's the end of our super chats.
Yeah. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about a little bit is that we did get a number of interesting quotes about Sea Lord Aisling that are worth examining, that are actually quite fun. Nothing, I wouldn't say there's anything that like dramatically shakes up our understanding of Aisling, but there are some things that Ashlyn, whatever. But there are some things that reinforce our understanding of the character. So for Ashlyn, there are two funny ones, and then there are ones that I think we will find genuinely interesting. So the first one that we have is the let's see. Yes, excessive measures, which is excessive measures is a skill Aisling has access to that says what other Esser deem excessive, Ashlyn considers simply being thorough.
Mm-hmm.
And then my favorite is this is a quote from Sea Lord Ashlyn on the skill called Give No Quarter, which says, "Leave nothing alive. Prisoners of war are nothing but dead weight."
Wow. Wow. Okay. Lovely.
Aisling, I think that violates some treaty somewhere.
Hey, it's the warmer world. No such treaties.
Yeah, a couple of other little interesting quotes that are revealed that reveal some aspects of his character. So we've got Vicious Fighter, which says something like, contrast to the enemy's savagery and blind bloodlust, Ashlyn commands fear through a measured, contemptuous application of force, which is very nicely worded. And then one I really like, because this ties into something me and Andy were talking about back on Sunday in the Sea Lord Aisling stream, which if you haven't already, please go check it out, which is the skill Approval of Finnabar, which states the trust between two master sailors. Finnabar, the seafarer, knows the true harsh realities of the sea and approves of Ashlyn's methods.
Yep. Damn straight. Exactly what I suggested.
Yeah. So that gives us our core point to their relationship.
And might I also say, called it in Lorebeards.
Yep, we did. And as a very fun thing they did, they actually gave us a magic item for Sea Lord Ashlyn,
awesome.
which he did not have before. And it turns out that his magic item is his helmet. And his helmet is called the Mask of the Merlord, even though it is not a mask, nor covers his face, but it is called the Mask of the Merlord. And the quote for it says, "They say the quiet strength of the ocean is contained within this ancient relic of the deeps, along with a touch of its raging sentience." And the big gimmick that it does is that it not only makes all your oceanids and sea elementals unbreakable and much harder to kill, but it lets you summon a fucking merworm.
Sweet, that'll do.
So it's how it basically seems to represent some kind of deep connection with the ocean itself and lets him call up big sea beasties. Neat.
It seems to make sense that you could claim that he had that before, but you could equally claim that he got that after his trip down under, so to speak, into the depths of the ocean.
Yeah, actually, that would make sense because it also gives him regeneration. So that could explain why his wounds.
There you go. That'll help. And also gives a little bit more strength to the whole, he's actually a freaking avatar. Where's his avatar rules?
Yeah, they do. He does have the skill called the Herald of Mothlan, because they use the official term from the High Elf book, which does make him absolutely fucking insane when he's fighting on the ocean.
Excellent. I approve.
If Sea Lord Ashlyn is fighting on the ocean, he basically just wins. Like, there's nothing you could do. He just wins.
Done. That'll do me fine. I'm happy.
Like, literally. And his entire army mitigates 20% of all damage at sea. Okay, sure. Sure, why not? I didn't want to win anyway.
Perfect.
But yeah. And then of course, we have one of the really, really interesting aspects to Total War. that is also very exciting, which is the reveal that the Oceanids and the Sea Elemental were brought back, which is something worth delving into briefly. This is actually a pretty massive fucking thing, because the Oceanids especially were never directly playable in the tabletop game. During the Storm of Chaos, they were literally, the way they worked is you had a spell called it was like the Siren's Call or something like that, and it mentions Oceanids in the flavor text.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a summon. It was like you put a marker on the battlefield to represent an Oceanid that would like take on a sexy lady form, and it would lure people in, and then they died. Or they got distracted by it, and then you could hurt them. But this game reimagines them as elemental creatures, very similar to dryads, where they have a war aspect. And their war aspect is that they're these almost like vortexes of water crested with the head of some form of bird and a horse. And the horse is very cute and cool because it's obviously like a Poseidon reference, because Poseidon was the god of horses in our world. And I'm sure, I don't think Mathland has a direct connection to horses in fantasy, but he would have a connection to Kelpies. Well, no, because are Kelpies river or lake spirits creatures specifically, or are they ocean as well?
They're not ocean normally, but sometimes they are. Well. It depends on the background. Yeah, if it's water, they will drag you to it and drown it. Go jump on that horse and go.
Yeah. They're seahorses. I know they're seahorses, but it's a Poseidon rep. Anyway, so but it was really exciting to see them, and especially because we got the Sea Elemental as well. I know this is not the way the game directly pitches them, because I don't think GW tends to think in terms of this, but I was really excited by this because in Wolfram 4th edition, one of the things they did, the Sea Elemental, for those that don't know, was a big beastie that could show up back in Man of War Corsair. It
went all the way back to the elemental magic from Warhammer 3rd edition.
Oh yeah, so even further back.
Before that. And in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1, you also had the concept of it. There was a really lovely, swooshy water elemental lead miniature back in the day. And that's a long time ago. I painted that one about 5 times. And the new ones that we've got actually look vaguely reminiscent of it, which makes me very happy.
Yeah, and those turned out so well. Like, I love that it's like a big dragon, like a big draconic head that's on the top of them, and makes them absolutely fucking terrifying to look at. One of the things that I really enjoy is that, and once again, this is not something that the tabletop or the video game is directly referencing, but one of the things that Cubicle 7 did that I actually really enjoyed was that they took the concept of the Sea Elemental and said, oh, you know what? We're going to make this into our interpretation of the incarnate elemental of Gyran, where there are these great swellings of life magic. Because for those that don't know, Gyran is like, water is like flushed with Gyran to like a silly extent. So it's like, oh, Gyran being like giant, or like your lesser elementals of Gyran and your incarnate elementals of Gyran being like big water elementals. Yeah, cool, great, awesome. That makes perfect sense. And yeah, that's actually a good point, Greg. It also would explain why the horse that's trapped inside the Sea Elemental in Total War is always alive and never allowed to die. For anyone that hasn't seen, the Sea Elemental monster has an idle animation where, because it's a big whirlpool, where you'll see a horse swirling around trying to break out of it, like screaming, and the elemental like looks down and eats it and swallows it back into the whirlpool. So it's like eternally trapped in hell, I guess, which is like one of the most fucked up things I've ever seen. And you're like, oh, that's a cool animation, but if you think about it for more than a second, that's kind of fucking horrible, but fascinating, but horrible. Yeah, the good guys, yay, elementals. Elves.
High elves are good guys.
Yeah. Another thing that this game did that I found really interesting, and I don't think this is something that was necessarily originally supported by the canon, but Andy might correct me on this, and I'd be happy to be wrong. So for those that don't know, when you play a Sea Lord Ashland campaign, what his campaign revolves around is he basically is like off doing shit in the Eastern Isles, and he finds out that there's a big impending invasion of Ulthuan. He starts preparing to deal with this invasion. But one of the core identities behind the campaign is that one of the story bits you get at the beginning is that there are very, 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 very few dragon ships anymore. And the reason there are so few is that all of the wood, there's a very unique form of magically charged wood that had to be
the
used,
ironwood
to create a dragon ship. But the Great Forest, where the vast majority of that wood was sourced from, was sunk during the Cataclysm. So, like that part of Ulthuan,
around Nagaride and up around those areas, and it all sunk down. It was discussed all the way back in Manowar. That the great, it's a classic piece of the elves had their peak in the past, their fading grandeur, and their ships are mostly one-offs nowadays. And the massive dragon ships with their great four hulls, they're no longer capable of being made. And again, because I've got to say at least once, this is harking back to the great golden battle barges of the Melnibonians in Michael Moorcock's books. Again, ancient massive ships from a previous year. The Black Arcs are based upon the golden battle barges of...
Sorry, Sundering. I meant Sundering, not Cataclysm. Sundering. Yes.
As are, to a degree, the dragon ships. So yeah, this is something that has been around for a while.
Oh, excellent.
As an idea, yeah.
Yeah, so this game dies...
yeah. Starwood was what it got called after. Its very first one was Ironwood, and it got changed to Starwood in a later version.
Yeah. So Ashland's campaign revolves really hard around that identity, which is really fun because each of the dragon ships that you get is basically a unique one that you either have to basically scramble and perform great feats to find the materials to make, or finding lost ships and salvaging them and repairing them to then return them to glory. And by the end of the campaign, the great feat that you accomplish is that Ashland successfully manages to have 5 functioning dragon ships.
I'll take it, because they were freaking awesome back in Manowar. They were my favorite vessels to use, and in my version of Warhammer, they're still kicking around all over the place as well because they're just amazing.
Yeah, so that's cool. I'm really glad that actually reflects some of the earlier storytelling and brings that back to the fore. And they are bonkers in this game. Like, they're super fucking strong. All right, so that then takes us to...
Let's have a brief pause in between as we dive back into Davy Jones, who says, could eggs be cleansed of chaos with Albion magic? Right, so I'm going to give... a hard answer to this, which is normally the opposite of what I do. Fuck off, no. And the idea that you can take a species that is entirely lost to chaos and just simply go, you know what? We'll just cleanse the eggs using this sort of magic. We've got a whole bunch of good Fimmer now, and we'll just replace them with the good Fimmer will just replace the bad ones, and it's all good now. Yeah, nah. The whole point of that species is they're chaos aligned, and if it was so easy to get out of it, they would have themselves. That species did not do well after the Cataclysm. It went really wrong for them. The Fimmer were in trouble. And if it was so easy to get out, they would have. So my answer to this would be no. Then, inevitably, it's Warhammer. Sure, there's always a way to get out of something. There's always a way to do something, but it always comes at a cost. And what's that cost going to be? In this particular case, I would suggest that the core answer should be no, and then a but, and then whatever the but would be for the individual tale told.
Yeah, I would very much agree. Plus, it's one thing when you have like a almost omnipotent character like the Celestial Dragon Emperor turning a wild species of creature that is not lost to chaos but has been mutated by chaos, like the Celestial Lions, into something else. To take a sentient species that, as a race, sold themselves full hog to chaos and is still dedicated to chaos, even though they're bitter about it. That would be weird on like several levels.
Yeah, nah, it's not something I do. But again, for your own stories, go wild. To blam! Ashland, Geneva Convention, more like Geneva Suggestion, if you know what I mean.
Just remember, everyone, there's no Geneva. There's no Geneva in Warhammer. They call it the Merry Murder
here, and the Sea Lord is just a battle between sentient hats who give regeneration. I want to say no.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. Oh man, that basically just means, that reminds me of a really funny Key and Peele skit where they're they're trying to have like the most ridiculous hat. Like it's when like they're showing up with like the hat still in the container or whatever. They're like have a stack of hats. And it's like it's super stupid.
Colbien, whose name I'm still pronouncing incorrectly, apologies. Between his no prisoners of war policy and the sack of Marienburg, I'm starting to think Ashlyn might be a bit of an asshole. If you're not a high elf, he is 100% an asshole. And if you are a high elf, he's like 50% an asshole, depending upon what your feelings are towards high elf supremacy.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, yeah.
Could be, possibly. Who's to say? Who's to say?
Cole Patterson, are there hippocamps, literal seahorses, in Warhammer Fantasy? Are there seahorses in Warhammer Fantasy? Yes.
Yes. They actually show up on certain banners for like factions around the setting.
Yeah, they popped up all over the place. Jonathan King got Vermintide 2 a couple of days ago. Excellent. Hope you enjoy it. And enjoying it immensely. Turns out you did enjoy it. And listening to lore stuff makes it even better. Delighted to hear that. I hope you are killing Skaven by the droves.
Yeah, especially that game has a metric fuck ton of like lore scattered so cleverly all around it constantly.
And there's so much sitting off in the little squirrely bits at the side. It's really good. And just before we move on, Colbien, again, unlike Ashlyn, Dakala goes out of her way to keep prisoners of war alive. Elves are frauds. Dakala for world ruler. I thought, where did Dakala come from? No one knows. She might have been a human. Oh, we got one last one before we move on. Grim Isaac, that fanfic with Thor had him steal Skaven children from the Great Horned Rat and fought with him over the kids he took, creating a new race.
With Thor?
Thor? I feel like I'm missing something here.
Like the Thunder God? Thor?
Fanfic? Well, I presume so. It's a fanfic. I feel like I'm missing something, Grim Isaac. Do feel free to jump in. I am, of course, just going to quickly bring up Tablam's one as well before we move on. Murcock mentioned, definitely third of my Andy bingo. Woo-hoo! You've almost won. Excellent. Right, so what's next? Ryan, where are we going to now?
Next is our final stop. And it's the one that me and Andy had a brief discussion about when all of this was building up. And we were like, because it's the most interesting one and also one that we kind of saw coming. Which also, especially if you take into context me and Andy's trip to Warhammer World, now that I think about it. But Dakala.
Dakala
was
yes.
a very exciting addition into this game. Really fun character that a lot of people really loved, who had a pretty ugly mini that showed up a long time ago and had a really, really cool little lore story. And then the Liber Chaotica got published and took her story and ran with it and made it into a genuine epic that was like 6 or 8 pages. And it's awesome.
We'll check our Dakala stream. We go into quite a lot of detail about her. She is a surprisingly awesome character that has been, up until this point, completely sidelined and forgotten by Games Workshop. And there is sort of a reason for that, as we're about to get into.
Yeah, so one of the things that a lot of people started noticing, and I mean a lot of people because I got so many DMs about it, was that in all of the marketing material for Dakala, they did not, under any circumstances, call her an elf, first of all. Mm-hmm. Second of all, they would like occasionally refer to her as like, human, perhaps? And then anytime they would talk about her backstory, they would only say, it's mysterious. Mysterious backstory. No one knows. And when you play Dakala in game, a little small spoilers, but when you play Dakala in game, there is nothing in the game about her past. She doesn't talk about her past at all. There's no mention of Samael. Samael gets zero mentions in the game. They do make allusions to her backstory. Her quest battle features her quest battle for her item, the Elixir of Damnation, features a big showdown with a demon prince that tries to get her to like serve him, and she loses her shit at the mere suggestion of it because he's a demon prince, and she gets super pissed, and you go, oh, I wonder why that is, and they just don't explain it.
You don't explain.
It's very much left as if you know, you know. And that's strange, ain't it?
Yeah. So yeah, we called this. I remember mentioning this in one of my various Q&As when it came up as well, where I sort of guessed this might happen if they were including Dakala. And the reason for it is exceedingly clear. Exceedingly clear. Dakala is from an older version of Games Workshop lore. And in the older version of Games Workshop lore, there was no limitation to chaos and its mutating powers. However, as the army list for the elves came out across the various editions of the game, the elves, as is often the case as new editions came out, were updated. And with each update, they got little new tweaks. And one of the last and most lasting of tweaks was that elves cannot and do not mutate. They just don't. Elves don't mutate. This started in 6th edition Warhammer and was held true all the way to 8th. Now, elves, when they fall to chaos, become things like the Anointed of Slaanesh in a book that has now been completely kicked out of canon, the Storm of Chaos book. You'll find the Anointed of Slaanesh, but the elves as presented there have no physical mutation at all. The only thing that really gives it away is that their skin has become almost translucent, not because it's mutation, just because of the way they live and the way they are, and their pupils have become so wide. Often elves, you can't even see their pupils because of the nature of their eyes. Become so wide, their eyes become entirely black. The Kala, however, comes from an era 1 edition back, 5th edition Warhammer from the Heroes of Chaos, and the Champions of Chaos, pardon me. And the Champions of Chaos book presented a mutated elf. This isn't possible under current Warhammer lore. Now, there's lots of ways that elves can become something else. They can change their shape through magic, through choice, through a host of things, but they don't mutate because of chaos. That being the case, the Kala doesn't fit into the current elf lore at all. Now, could you write a cool story that completely makes sense of it? And not only is that easy, it's what I most certainly would suggest they do. There's lots of different ways that could be handled, and we discussed some of those back in our Dakala stream. I suggest go watch that if you haven't already, because we go for a little bit on that entire subject and discuss different ways it could be manifested into the modern lore. As it currently stands, though, she can't be an elf unless they justify it. So there was that call from us. Are we going to see Creative Assembly just ignore the fact it's an elf so they can bring Dakala in without ever causing a rupture with the new lore by not saying she's an elf? And it looks like that's exactly what they have done.
Yeah, which is a shame because
not mutation, just to call it up. Not mutation. God's changing things. That's not mutation.
Yeah, chaos mutation is a very specific thing. It's very specific.
God doing stuff is different.
Yeah, and one of the things that's a little unfortunate about it is that me and Andy talked about this in the Dakala stream, which by the way you should go check out if you haven't already. Yeah. There are several avenues where you could keep Dakala's story the exact same, but instead of it having it be she's a mutant, you explore the justifications through gods of whether it's she's actually, and what being the denied one means, because it can have multiple inferences, multiple explanations, like the idea that maybe she's like a denied avatar of an elven god, maybe the one that has 6 arms just like she does and has a serpentine form kind of like she does.
Yeah, and we already have form for that, where the gods, when they bring avatars, can bring significant change to the bodies that they inhabit. Sometimes that just manifests as pure strength and power. Other times that manifests as literal change within them as those blessings manifest differently. It's not mutation. Mutation is a form of corruption. Corruption is very different in the Warhammer world to other types of things. And I'm sure we're going to move into some super chats discussing that in a moment, because I see some questions scrolling by. We'll get to it then. But we could easily have answered it in a way that works within the existing lore. They have taken the simplest route, which is, we want to use this character, Games Workshop, can we? I imagine Games Workshop said something like, no, because it doesn't fit anymore. To which they said, how about we just don't mention the bit that doesn't work? And they go, yeah, I mean, it's one of our characters. Yeah, let's go wild. Woo! And everybody has themselves a Decala party. And as we all know, there ain't no party like a Decala party. So we get ourselves a Decala. It completely fits within the lore because it doesn't mention the lore. So we have no problems. In the wider setting, at some point, someone's going to come along and try to justify it. And it would not surprise me if a later writer, upon seeing it in something like Total War, just goes, oh, it's mutated elf. Elves can mutate, and the lore will update again, and we'll end up with a different version of the lore, because that's what Games Workshop has done again and again anyway. So don't be surprised if at a later date we find the elves can mutate again, but as it currently stands, they just can't, and Decala as a mutant doesn't work. But there's lots of other routes that they could have taken to provide Decala with the form that she currently has.
Yep. All right. We're going to go dive into these, because I already see some questions where it's like, technically we've answered this, but it sounds like we need a little bit more. So Raging Pacifist, if elves don't mutate, then why are wood elves scared of Morgar? So Morgar can cause more than just
corruption.
Yeah.
So here's an important part. I'm just going to, it's in Warhammer Fantasy's rules. Quite simply, elves don't physically mutate. They still mentally mutate. They go fucking bonkers. They get corrupted. They become darker versions of themselves. They go insane. They completely break. Corruption is still something that elves can be susceptible to. Corruption and the corruption of the ruinous powers affects everything. It's just with elves, it doesn't affect their mortal form. It doesn't change their body. It changes their soul. It corrupts and mutates their soul. They're scared of Morgar because he eats gods and eats elves and eats everything else and corrupts souls. It's not that they're immune to chaos. They're not immune to chaos by any stretch. What they are is immune to mutation physically on their bodies.
Yeah, and I will go ahead and nip in the bud what people that have read around will say, which is, but what about that time I read that book and I saw an elf mutate? The writing is, especially Black Library books, the writing will not be consistent. Or you'll see stories where like a Zinch demon is going to shoot an elf with like pink fire, blue fire, and the elf will mutate and die. Or a Skaven warp fire thrower will shoot an elf and it will mutate and die. Or Morgar will get too close to an elf and it mutates and dies. And that will happen a lot. And to which most of us will go, well, that elf just mutated and died. So what the fuck? And GW will go, elves can't mutate. And you'll go, I don't understand. And GW goes, well, that's not my problem. is kind of the long and short of it. We're not trying to tell you, like, you're wrong. We're trying to tell you this is as of right now, because it's come up for a lot of the roleplay game stuff in very, very recent times. Like, I've literally been in chats with roleplay authors who have said, like, for elf stuff, you cannot mutate an elf.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't. It's not, oh, you can in certain specific cases. It's you cannot. Period.
It's one of their unique traits. In the same way that the other species have got their own unique thing. Elves now can't mutate. Now, that doesn't mean you can't turn them into something else. There's lots of spells that turn people into other things. Like, for example, I've turned you into gold because I've got gold magic. I'm a god and I turn you into a big serpentine thing because I can do that shit. That's very different to corruption and the mutation that comes from the corruption of the ruinous powers and them literally corrupting the world from within, something that the elves uniquely are immune to.
Yeah, also don't get caught up on if there's another thing I'm seeing in several comments. Don't worry so much about the English technical definition of the word mutate. Like, what is the definition of mutate? In Warhammer, it means something very specific.
Yeah.
Like, for us, having a mutation is as simple as like there's something a little different in your genetic code, or your eyes are different colors, or like everybody's a mutant. Everybody's a mutant, literally. Like, oh, your hair's a different color, you're a mutant. In Warhammer, it literally means that your not always, but when they're talking about elves, they mean your physical form has been corrupted by chaos to the extent that it changes wildly and without direction.
I am indeed a mutant. It's true. My body does not process sugar. God damn it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Although very few of you probably noticed, I'm currently 12 pounds lighter than I was just 2 weeks ago.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm going through some harsh dieting right now because my birthday is coming on Saturday, and I would like all the photographs from my birthday to have a slightly more svelte Andy. And I have a diet that is specifically made for me by my doctor to make me lose all the weight in the world, because I am indeed diabetic.
The joys of life. So, yeah, really.
Spoken, I just bring this one up because spoken like a true elf.
I mean, arguably, every human is mutant. Yeah, that is what the elves would say.
Yep, 100%. Exactly what the elves would say. Elves are not mutants. All humans are, because they are so changeable. The very nature of their species is corruption. But in the real world, it's a little bit further than that.
Getting gleeful, if elves don't mutate, what happens to them when the fires of Zinj blast them and cause their bodies to change? Is that not
magic.
Mutation?
It's magic. And magic can cause change. Mutation that's coming from corruption is a very different thing. Magic can cause elves to change and become something else under certain circumstances, but it's magic. It's a very different result. The spells that cause mutation, specifically with capital M, don't work. The spells that cause flesh to bubble up and do all sorts of things, that cause flesh to burn, that cause flesh to turn into a different chemical state, whatever that might be, they're all going to work. But if it does capital M mutation, as in it corrupts their physical form and makes their physical form explode into a host of different new mutated forms, that doesn't work. No, they cannot. It's full of corruption. As I mentioned, they will go insane, mental, and die.
Yeah, they're not.
Just because you can't physically mutate doesn't mean you don't have problems with corruption.
Yeah, Warpstone is still extremely dangerous to elves. Super dangerous.
Yeah, totally.
Raging Pacifist. If elves don't mutate, then why do witch elves' hair turn white? It's not mutation. That's a blessing of a god, or they dye it, which is also very possible.
And it's also not always white in some places too. And yeah, there's a host of suggestions as to what that's the case. I actually was writing an article about it that was going to be inside an actual book about elves at one point, and it had just been approved by Games Workshop when the book was cancelled all the way back in 2010. And in that one, it was Blessing of the Gods and Die. There's two things going on. But yeah, the witch elves are literally the brides of Cain.
Getting gleeful. Also, what are the champions of Slaanesh? Elves? So the champions of Slaanesh, for anyone that hasn't seen, is there was a really iconic Exalted Hero mini, which is this guy who's got 3 arms, or no, 4 arms? 3 arms?
He's got 4 arms and he's got a snake tail.
Yeah, his lower body is a snake tail. Yeah. And it was a super cool mini that people really loved, and it got made into one of Archaon's champions during the Vandred the Majestic, I believe, who actually gets killed by Steercar and replaced because Steercar murks the shit out of him. But Total War was like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to make that into a unit of those guys, which is like, holy shit, that's a scary unit. But to be fair, it does put them on par with like the other super god tier elite mutated champions of the other gods. Like the Bloodsworn of, or whatever they're called, the Blood Warriors, the Blood something of Khorne, and the putrid Blight Lords of Nurgle. Like they fit in with that crowd. What I'll say is they look like elves. Yeah, they do. They got the pointy elf ears. Are they elves? According to GW, no.
I'll go slightly further. The original model wasn't an elf either. It was a human that had elf ears. No joke. And to make matters even more complicated, it comes from an era when elves did mutate as well, which just makes it more annoying, if anything, because that model was released during the Realms of Chaos era and Warhammer 3rd edition originally. And I painted that one more times than I care to mention. It's a really good model. And unfortunately, in this instance, is both not an elf in the original concept, but looks like an elf. But it was also from an era when elves could mutate, so it could have been an elf if you wished.
Yeah. One thing that's a good example, actually. If you're out there and you're like, this is all very weird, I don't know how to wrap my head around this, I have a reading assignment for you, which is that either you can go to your local GW very easily or on eBay or Google, because there's a lot of these in production right now because they recently printed them. The 2 Realms of Chaos books are very easy to get a hold of these days, and they're not that expensive, and they're very cool, and they let you see a lot of old Hammer stuff, and they're fucking weird. They are weird fucking books. From a modern Warhammer's perspective.
Yeah, from a modern perspective, totally weird. From my perspective, just part of Warhammer's glorious and very wide canon.
Yeah, like bizarre mutated elves, you'll find that kind of shit in there.
Oh, yeah.
Another much easier to read, much less dense, is there are 2 books that are part of like a little series that go together, which are the Gilead series.
Mm-hmm.
Gilead got republished a couple times. It's about what you would probably consider a high elf, though he's actually a bit weirder than that. And it's a story about the elf Gilead and his journeys around the old world. It is a fucking weird set of books by modern standards because it was written in Old Hammer. And things will happen and you'll go, what the fuck is going on? And that's just how Warhammer used to be.
I'm gonna make it worse. It wasn't written in Old Hammer.
Yeah, I think it was 5th, 6th edition.
Yeah.
Those are weird books for 6th.
It was written during an era when the editor should have said, this isn't the case anymore, but clearly they hadn't read the most recent army lists.
Yeah.
And it really goes places. I remember when the book came out and there was a lot of WTF is going on here. Actually, it might be just the tail end of 5th. What makes me want to go check up the publishing dates. But regardless, it was written in an era when they probably shouldn't have done it, but they did it anyway. By 4th edition, it was already made very clear that you couldn't get things like, say, interspecies mixes. You couldn't get elves mixing with humans, for example, and creating half-elves. That was old Warhammer, not new Warhammer. But it wasn't until we hit 6th that they very clearly stated elves were immune to all mutation. Now we've missed a whole bunch of super chats because we've taken them order. So we're going to take the super chats. Let's take this one, and then I'll get the rest of the ones that we missed.
Oh, okay. When gods change things on the mortal plane, are they not technically using magic? No, they are, by the strictest definition. And do the winds of magic not flow from the realm of chaos? Yes, they do. But corruption is not normal magic. It's different. It's something that has gone bad.
Yeah, the winds of magic are not corruption. The winds of magic come from the aether. The aether is called by many the realm of chaos, but by others it's not perceived as this. All of the gods live in the aether. The corruption that basically wheedles into your soul and turns it into something else and can corrupt both your body and mind in different ways is completely different to using a spell or divine blessing to change something. When mutation sinks into someone, mutation, not I have been changed by something, it completely corrupts the soul and the body. A mutation occurs and almost has nothing to do with the gods. But those who see mutation as a blessing of the gods kind of aren't wrong. It is ultimately the greatest dissolution of the material form. And as we all know, the chaos gods are kind of looking to destroy the material world. The root of all corruption is the chaos gods. And yeah, when magic goes wrong, it gets corrupted and turns into Dar. Yeah, it's a complicated thing.
No. Gideon. Okay. So why are physical and mental changes that are caused by corruption different from those caused by other magic? And again, from blessings if they are ultimately derived from etheric energy.
I didn't even hear the question because I was about to bring up a different one because I was going to go through them again. So give me a moment to I quickly reread that one. So why are physical and mental changes that are caused by corruption different from those caused by other magic? And again, from blessings, if they're ultimately derived from etheric energy. They're not. The corruption is ultimately derived from the chaos gods and their corruption of everything. The aether is not corrupted wholly by the chaos gods. The magic isn't either. The conflation of magic with chaos is one of the biggest lies that there is out there, while simultaneously isn't, because Tzeentch is wrapped up with so much that is magic, and the use of magic to bring change to the world, which at its very heart is what Tzeentch wants to happen. Tzeentch wants the cage of the cause and effect rules of all reality to shatter, to ensure that all possibilities can occur. But that is a corruption of plan rather than a corruption of the actual nature of the thing itself, which is a long, sprawling way of saying those two things aren't the same.
Yeah, the best way I could describe this is trying to think of etheric energy more like a state of matter. So, like, you wouldn't say water and milk are the same thing. I would hope you wouldn't say that water and milk are the same thing. Or that water and, like, disgusting viscous sludge are the same thing. But some of those things you can consume safely or handle safely, and some of those things will fucking kill you. That's kind of like how vaguely related, like they're the same thing in certain senses, but they're also very distinctly different when you're dealing with corruption versus magic.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to pull up all the older super chats to make sure that we go through them, because there's a bunch of more questions in this area as well. So let me just find out where we were. Got the Vermintide 2. We did that one. Why is my... I think... Did I do that one?
Yes.
That means from there.
We did that one.
Else can't mutate. We didn't do this one. It wasn't one of the ones we brought up, but it is worth reiterating because we did discuss this. Where did Blood Rat Medusas come from? Who knows? No, we know exactly where it came from. Authority went no to all those beautiful sorceresses and turned them into something else. It wasn't that she corrupted their souls and used corruption and was chaos and was a chaos god and corruption was running through it. She literally cursed them and made them into something else. It's not mutation at all. They are two very different things. Now, you might go, but the word mutation means to change from one thing into another. Yeah, but that's not what Warhammer mutation is. Warhammer mutation has for a very long time, and I mean pretty much all the way back from 3rd edition Warhammer, been the corruption of the ruinous powers. It's the chaos gods fucking with shit, not the other gods doing whatever it is that the other gods do.
We know it's stupid. We're just trying to explain to you how it works.
I don't think it's stupid. I think it makes sense. It's just you've got to accept that the word mutation in Warhammer is a very strictly controlled word, and all the other words work in other ways.
The joys of fantasy. So
we did cover this one. If I was going to mutate, why the Wood Elf scared of Morgor? Because of corruption. Gideon Gleeful, if I was going to mutate, what happens when the fires? We did that one too. Let's see how many of these we got through. We did Hair Turns White.
Yep.
We did also Champions. Well, yes, we did that one too. And I think it's at this point where, or maybe we did go through them all.
Yep.
Or changing the mortal plane. They're not technically using magic. And do the winds of magic not flow from the realms of chaos? We did that one, didn't we? I think.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we did. I had to think about that one for a second, but yes, we did.
Yeah, which means that we did catch them all. Apologies. I thought we'd missed one. Ricky Chapman, elves not being able to mutate could be even more horrifying. The Kala being dragged before Slaanesh itself, who personally customized her. Yes.
Yeah, you could do that. Absolutely.
Even Samiel could do that. I mean, greater powers of any of the Chaos Gods are capable of changing the forms of other things using not just magic, but other things as well. Corruption. There is methods of fucking with shit, and individuals who are put under extraordinary strain might become something else. Elves have a special rule, immune to mutation, physical mutation, not mental mutation. But that doesn't mean their bodies can't be changed into something else.
Yeah, like, to be clear, for anyone in the audience that might, just to be very transparent, what we're saying is that things like Warpstone or Chaos Corruption or Extreme Darnell that will not cause an elf's physical form to randomly mutate like it will for a human. But that would not stop an elf's body from being vulnerable to forms of change through like if a Skaven Master Molder captured an elf, he could use horrible sorcery science and surgery and all sorts of nasty shit to turn that elf into a horrible nightmarish creation that's still alive and is awful. He could still do that. He couldn't like inject it with Warpstone and it'll just like blah, 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 mutate. That will not happen.
But again, here we need a very clean distinction between two forms of mutation. One is mental, spiritual mutation, and the other one is physical.
Sorry,
the elves are only immune to the physical part. If they got themselves close to Warpstone, or if they consumed Warpstone dust or anything similar, they still mutate, just not physically. It's their minds that go. Everything that holds them apart begins to disintegrate.
Yeah, which if you're not just worried about being killed by a witch hunter, the mental ones are actually way fucking worse. They're so much worse.
Yeah, they're all kinds of fun. Ricardo, all the gods live in the Aether. Most of them. Now tell me how it's different from the warp and realms of gods, just different places in the warp, which is infinite. I mean, yeah. So to make sure I understand this part and break it down each part, all the gods live in the Aether. So first part, that's not the case. Many of the gods have got physical manifestations in the material realm, and at least one or two, or possibly even more gods also walk the mortal realms as physical gods. Most have been banned by Azurin back in time if we go with the high elf version of events, but there are still some gods who kick around. Now tell me how it's different from the warp. One presumes the 40k warp, sure. And the realms of gods are just different places in the warp. Yes, they are, basically. But again, consolidating it as a physical place isn't really correct, because the Aether is, as you say, it's infinite. It's not really a place that's got like space where you can go, I'm going to fly over to Calth now. Oh, I'm done with that. I'm going to fly to Terra. I'm now going to fly over there, because that's how space works. It's not an up, down, left, right, easy to navigate three-dimensional spatial area with time running through it. It's nothing like that at all. It just is, and great swirls of emotion and twisting, turning, and the creatures that come from there are extra dimensional. They are quite beyond mortal comprehension, and when they come through into the material realm, they are made small. They are diminished by the rules of reality, and reality caused them to form into shapes that most closely resemble what their true forms are over in the Aether, spiritually speaking, not physically. It's not like you've got greater demons wandering around, stomping about the realm of chaos, but that's exactly what it is at the same time. Yeah. So it's not different to the warp. It's just 40k, again, if we're using the 40k term for the warp, in 40k world, the Chaos Gods are ruling supreme. They've almost won. They've almost effectively won the war in that one. In Warhammer, they are far from winning until they do. But even then, they don't win. Age of Sigmar comes later. They haven't won at all. So in the Warhammer world, they're nowhere near as close as they are in 40k to overall winning, so to speak.
Yep.
Oh, we have one more. Hey, Gideon. Okay, so could a Chaos God cause a physical or mental change that wasn't a mutation, or is it always classified as a mutation if it's from them? Pretty much, yes. If yes, then is Valkia not mutated just by changed by Khorne? No, mutated. They work through corruption. It's how they work. In the same way, you could say something like, hey, if Slann can use telepathy, does that mean that a Bright Wizard that also uses magic can use telepathy? No, a Bright Wizard uses the bright wind of magic. It's how they work. The Chaos Gods use corruption, and indeed, most of their corruption is absolutely mental, completely arbitrary, has no real mind or control behind it, and a lot of it is purely circumstantial, with nothing to do with the Chaos Gods at all, and it's mortals who associate it with the Chaos Gods. A bunch of mortals hanging around in the Chaos Wastes in the north start to mutate, and they go, "Thanks, Khorne, that's just what I wanted." And they build a story about how Khorne blessed them with this extra horn, this new plated hide, these new weird bobbly legs. Khorne's the best, thanks for Khorne doing that. Khorne doesn't give a flying fuck. Khorne's doing other stuff in Khorne's realm. Khorne doesn't even have a simple mind in such a form, but human minds give it that sort of form. So it's a really complicated thing, largely because it involves an extra dimensional space and not chthonic entities, wrong word, entities that are extra dimensional and very weird.
Hopefully that makes a lick of sense.
Good luck. I mean, it completely makes sense on my side. I mean, I get it, but I agree that not everybody does. Here we go. Could Tzeentch mutate a human into an elf using elf souls? Interesting. Yes. Could you, and by that I mean, could you mutate a human into something that looks like an elf, talks like an elf, sounds like an elf? Yeah, sure. There wouldn't just be Tzeentch. There'd be lots of ways that you could potentially shapeshift. Hell, there's basic spells from Gur where you can turn yourself into a wolf. I'm a wolf now. You are a wolf. You've changed yourself into a completely different species. It's not mutation. That's magic. It's a completely different process. And you become a wolf, and there's more than enough stories of amber wizards that wander around in their animal forms for a very long time because they can. They effectively are wolves that become another species. Is there methods of doing it? Yes. Elves, however, are a bit special. So it's going to be a much more complicated situation in this instance.
Yeah. Now, funny enough, could you have a mutation that's like elf-like? You could. That has been one at times. So like it could.
Yeah, multiple times. I mean, running by many of the old mutation tables, you could just mutate into an elf. That's some of the weird shit that can happen in the Warhammer world. Ricardo, I'll take as headcanon that the warp connects all three settings, different universes connected by the warp. Yep. And depending on the setting, some gods have chosen to be absent or indifferent from that place. That's not quite how it works if you run by Games Workshop's model. It's not that the gods have chosen to be absent, it's just the gods aren't there. The warp is the great interconnected space, if you will, but the gods in each one of the settings are very much held within their settings. And the Khorne that spreads across both while being the same entity is also quite different. If you see the manifestations of Khorne in 40k in comparison to the manifestations of Khorne in Age of Sigmar particularly, they are very different entities.
Yeah, there's one of the things that's tricky. And I'll give you all my little explanation for how I try and explain it to people is that the chaos gods exist for GW in pretty much every single one of their settings.
Yep.
And that being said, despite the fact that they're the same core entity, as you could kind of think of it as the ether brushes up against that setting, there are counter effects that setting has on the ether where basically the things that are interacting have to play by that setting's rules. So the gods and everything else that's in the realm of chaos shifts to play by those rules. And the best way I can think to explain it is when GW says that like, oh, Slaanesh is in every setting. What I find the most helpful way to think of it is that there is like a core template of this is Slaanesh. And then when you drop the Slaanesh template into a setting, it will change based on the factors of that setting. But the Slaanesh in 40k is not aware of or really the same as the Slaanesh in AOS, but they share the same fundamental design. Yeah.
Ricardo, I do like my elves and Eldari analogs of each and the absence of 90% of the Pantheon for reasons an extra 40k tragedy on their race.
Yeah, I mean, I would be super thrilled, honest, if they revealed like a big new Eldari book that showed all of like the elf gods that we have in fantasy and just talks about how they all died. And it was just like a horrible
what
tragedy.
The background was before anyway.
Yeah,
totally. The Zero Daimu. I think this would clarify it for me. Let's find out if it does. Can the Chaos gods, okay, Chaos, let's get that clean in our heads, also use magic spells independent of corruption mutation, or can they only use corruption? Everything the Chaos gods do is laced through with corruption. It just is. If you get brushed up with their magic, it is laced through with the stuff. Now, that doesn't mean that it can only corrupt. Some spells do more than one thing. They are laced through with corruption, but they can also do something else. For example, let's see if we can make this as clear as possible. If I am throwing some pink fire of Tzeentch in your direction, you will gain corruption because it's corrupted magic, but you'll also burn. The burning is not independent of the corruption because there's corruption in it. But the burning doesn't need the corruption for the burning to work. The burning's going to work because it's freaking fire. Now, the elves, when they receive it, do not deal with the physical mutation that the corruption could bring. They will still mentally mutate because of the corruption, and they'll also burn because that's what the spell does. It burns you. Loosely speaking, they burn, they receive the corruption, but they don't physically mutate. Does that clarify it?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I don't know. Hey, Ricardo. Yes, to be clear. I do take that each setting has a facet of chaos in the gods. Excellent. Which at the end is unknowable due to reality and immaterial clashing. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. The more you try to pin it down as a real thing, the less it'll make sense. Each setting has got its own thing, and all the gods are in all of them, and each setting's got its own stories, which means each of the gods go in their own direction. And the more that you try to make them all one thing that can see and hear and work as one thing across all the settings, the less it begins to make sense. Oh, yeah. Brilliant. Let's bring that one up. For me, it absolutely does, actually. If we've got one of you get landing on this one, I'm happy.
And that is why we saved Dakala for last.
Because Dakala is problematic, and you can see why for Games Workshop Dakala is also problematic, because they've got to tackle an exceedingly complicated situation where they've got to now rationalize a thing which doesn't really work in their world, and they then have to explain it. Look how much trouble we've had. We've been discussing this now for about 9 years. And in those 9 years, we've managed to confuse as much as we've managed to clarify. Now, Games Workshop have to then sum this up in very simple terms, because for the battle game, they work in absolutes. Everything is very simple, clear absolutes. And if they say absolutely no elf can mutate and then make a mutant elf character, they've broken their own core design ethic in many respects. So they decided just not to. And you, I think, from that long conversation, can understand why. Does that seem fair?
Yes. And also, just because I saw a quick question about it, I just want to address it. There's really nothing else in the DLC that I think me and Andy really need to go over. Like, there are things that are really cool. Like, Pratons are cool. The Pleasure Seekers are cool. It's really great to see them. But there's nothing, like, deeper about it. That for the sake of this stream. Obviously, at some point, we would love to do a video where we just talk about Pratons. But that would be its own like thing where we delve into everything that's exists about them, but nothing has changed dramatically. Other than they kind of got shoehorned into the Slaanesh roster, which was a bit of a but
weird.
And the reason CA gave works, but it's very flimsy, where they're like, Pratons are probably in the Dreaming Wood, and that's technically in the realm of Slaanesh, so and we were like, all right, sure. Okay.
So, extra couple of super chats. I just want to take a moment to appreciate how nerdy and silly the whole mutant elf conversation is. Yeah, we know. Last question. Would you guys change the lore to make them able to mutate if you could, or do you prefer immunity? Massively prefer immunity. Because it makes them interesting, unique, and something different to the rest of the other species. And also, when you do get deep in the weeds and you start trying to understand what it means something fundamental for what elves are. And that is great, because it makes them different from the other species. In the same way, I wouldn't make dwarves all spellcasters like they were back in Oldhammer. In Oldhammer, dwarves just cast spells. There was no problems at all. Along came 4th edition, and it said, dwarves use runes now. They don't do magic. Magic is bad, and if they could somehow do it, they'll turn into stone. Ha ha, sucks to be you. every dwarf wizard who had been played in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay up to that point cursed Games Workshop and said, screw Warhammer, you've ruined it for me. And in the same way that was problematic for some, elves not being able to mutate is problematic for some as well, because they've got core stories which rely upon mutant elves or elves doing something they're different. That's fine. Warhammer shifts and moves, but I wouldn't change this one. I think it works really well.
I agree, because I stand very firm with Andy that each of the species should be completely exotically different. Like exotically different. The one thing that I deeply, deeply loathe about so many fantasy settings is when your elves are literally just humans with pointy ears that like live longer and maybe don't need to sleep as much, and your dwarfs are just shorter humans that like to have beards and are maybe a little whiter, but like they're all just the same thing and they are affected the same way by all the same things, and it's boring and dumb. And let Warhammer be weird. Let it be weird.
Yeah, I agree. Let it be its own thing. And we don't want to have a reproduction of Tolkien's elves or Michael Moorcock's Melnibonians or his Eldrin.
To be fair, I wasn't thinking Forgotten Realms. I wasn't thinking anything specific, just to be clear.
Yeah, quite. Gideon, so if all that touches, chaos touches is corruption, or is corrupted by its touch, if you will, what actually is corruption beyond the circle of logic? It's the touch of chaos. Yeah, sure. And that is a fundamental question about chaos, and it's tackled in multiple chaos tomes as they attempt to describe the absolute horror that the chaos gods represent in comparison to the other gods. They are different. They're doing something different. They engage with reality in a different fashion, and that at its very heart is corruption. Dar, Warpstone causes this corruption also.
You know what this question makes me think?
Yeah.
To put clear that this is a genuinely very difficult question that shouldn't have an answer, because you need to find your own answer. And to that I say, this is like walking up to like a physicist and asking him, what exactly is light? Like,
well, it's a wave, but it's not.
Yeah, like
particle, but it's not.
Like I get what it is, but like, what is it? Tell me. And they'd be like, fuck you. So like it's like that.
Ricardo pops back in with I know fantasy here, but I do like to think that Slaanesh didn't kill the elder gods, and they were simply forsaken and abandoned, impotent over the 60 million years. That would be one way of dealing with it. 40k is pretty clear. He ate them. They're gone. Absolutely gone. And the gods that you've got over in Warhammer are a completely different manifestation, or are somehow related, or somehow carry on. It's a different story. And they're telling a different story with 40k than they are with Warhammer. In Warhammer, the gods are on their last legs come the end times. The elf gods are in trouble. Of that, there's no doubt. There's multiple examples in the end time literature where they basically say something like, and the elf gods are fucked, and a different variety of terms. But in 40k, they're not fucked. They're dead. History gone, except for those few shafts of light that have somehow survived, whether it's Cain and the great avatars of Cain or whatever else you might want to go for.
And then there's AOS where they all died, and then they were like, haha, JK, we're resurrecting.
Yeah, we're resurrecting them again. And that could happen in 40k too. Theo Benora, hello. Is there still native elves from before the ancients' interventions alive in the old world? If so, where?
So, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, to technically answer this, they would not be called elves.
Yeah.
Because what the elves are they are some mysterious smorgasbord of some primordial creature that was altered and uplifted by the old ones into what they are now. But we have no idea what they looked like or what they were before then. Like, we don't know if they combined a bunch of species or if they took one species. Like, we have no idea. So,
you want a hot take? Want a hot take?
Sure.
You want a hot take? Dryads.
That is a hot take.
Dryads are just elves. They look like elves. They sound like elves. They're the female elves. There's presumably male ones somewhere too. But dryads, spirits. In fact, if you look at most of the spirits in their natural form, when they get out of their war forms, they sort of look like elves. Run with that.
That's a theory, not a confirmation. Just to be clear. Moving on.
It's not a confirmation at all. That's a hot take. It's about as hot as you can get, because that's not the case. But yeah. Warhammer has had elves that aren't elves in it for a very long time. Yeah. Hey, Ricardo. Continuing on my previous, especially due to how weird the death and revival of gods goes and the timelessness of the Aether. Yeah, I agree with that. Yep. There's nothing wrong with saying, for example, that all the gods die in 40k, but they're still going because there's no actual time inside the Aether. You can build really complicated stories that make no sense to anyone but you, but will make sense within your own mental framework of how gods work in the great impossible expanse that is the warp that connects all things. So you can definitely go with that.
I just wanted to grab out this comment by not New York but York. Sure, no elf mutation doesn't mean T'Challa can't be the one exception. Even better if she's unique. Even better if we still don't know what she's exactly or how she got there. I do agree.
Agree completely. No, I don't disagree. I agree hard. A really cool, unique story, as we've discussed in multiple previous streams, often makes for a better answer than just simply saying you can't do this. Warhammer has got no hard rule that can't be changed. Multiple writers have made that about as certain as it possibly can be. And I think that would work really well.
Yeah, because just think about what kind of existential dread she would represent for elves. If she is like, I am an elf that mutated and I exalted, and the elves being like, holy fuck, what the fuck is going on?
So, Colby, we almost went with the opposite option when we did T'Challa as our stream. Here's how T'Challa can potentially be an elf without being a mutant. She angered Authority, who cursed her. Or alternatively, she is an avatar of Hecate, who blessed her. There's different ways you can deal with this.
Yeah, it's really fun because Authority is the goddess that is very heavily associated with all the serpent themes, where Hecate is the six-armed theme. So it feels like something happened there.
There's something going on there, and there's a really cool story that just is almost
waiting. And they're for anyone that doesn't know, they're sisters. So they're like, they're not twins, but they're sisters that are like,
yeah, they are.
They are twins, but they hate each other. They
hate each other with a passion, largely because they both love the elves so much, and the elves love the other very differently. From Eggman, they say the exception proves the rule. After all, they do say that. Of course, it makes no sense at all, but it's perfect because it does. Wow. Okay, that was a whole lot of talking to basically say T'Challa is a current lore exception, and Creative Assembly have solved that exception by not discussing it.
The last hour has proven why CA went dodge.
Yeah. So whilst a lot of this can be almost annoying, because let's be honest, we have just talked about one subject for quite some time. There's a reason we've done it, because it causes confusion. And that confusion is in many respects what they're attempting to dodge. And they've dodged it completely. Imagine they said, no elf can mutate, which is what the books currently say. She's an elf. People would start asking the other question, well, why is she like this? Why? And everyone would be asking that question. This way they dodge that question completely. Nathan, all this talk of the relationship of the gods between 40k and fantasy, and we're ignoring the bigger question. When will Lorebeards tackle Blood Bowl? Also, bonus question: can the lizardmen mutate? Yeah.
Yes.
The Slan can't, unless they can. And by that I mean, I had a lovely conversation about this point when we were discussing Paths of the Old Ones, which was going to be a set of campaign books that was going to be released for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4, but they ended up not being written because I resigned from the job. But I was discussing it with Gav Thorpe because he and I were just building this campaign. And a core component of that was what to do with the Slan. And it was very early pinned on exactly what the Slan represented. They're immune to corruption. They're the only species in the Warhammer world that is. They just are. They're immune. Immune completely. They can't corrupt. But if you're a Chaos God, how do you corrupt them? And it was a core question that we were interested in examining. How do you corrupt the incorruptible? Because Warhammer has always got, as we suggested, an exception. How can you corrupt something that can't corrupt? How can you say that something's corrupted when it in fact is not? And that was a super fun conversation. But that, at its heart, also answered this question, which is, can Slan mutate? No, they are in fact, by their very nature, immune to corruption. By the very nature of what they are, they can't corrupt. They are immune to that. Now, that doesn't mean they're immune to other things. Cool. Karzov! Does the encroaching realms of chaos at the poles affect magnetic north and south and thus navigation with a compass?
Yes.
Other uses of navigation on seas. Oh, Karza, you have no idea.
We don't have time, but yes.
No, this is a big one. Navigation in the Warhammer world is hard. And it requires, if you want to get true and accurate results, astromancers. You can't just do it with compass alone. You need more. Because you need to be able to show how the winds of magic are fucking with your readings. And astromancers, those that use the celestial wind of magic, can perceive what the celestial wind is doing to celestial objects and to compasses and other things as well. Their readings are wrong. Now, they're not perfectly wrong. They're also not consistently wrong, which means that you can navigate without them. It's just often you will navigate very, very badly. There's a reason the elves win. There's a reason the elves win at high seas. It's because they can navigate consistently all the time. Yeah, it's one of the things that we discussed very loosely on the Ashland stream about how the high elves win the high seas. And that's one of the answers why. Hey Gideon, what if Hecate and Authority both tried to save her from Slanesh, but their bickering managed to mutate her in both directions, multi-armed snake? I doubt it.
That I do love the idea of them like both trying to grab to save her, but they pull her in different directions, and she just like turns into that with like confetti. Just
Yeah, that would be funny. Christopher, for Andy, how do you feel about the Arcane Marks from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay affecting elves in mental ways only? I found they add fun personality challenges for elf wizards. I wish they hadn't done that. It wasn't how Arcane Marks was supposed to work. Arcane Marks were physical, all of them, even though some of them had mental after effects. They were because of physical changes. The whole point of the Empire Wizards was they had access to a benefit the elf wizards didn't have, and that was Arcane Marks. Now, some of them were negative, but many of them were positive. And in second edition, one of the primary points of them was it made human wizards useful and interesting. Now they've basically gone, hey, now we've got Arcane Marks for the elves as well. Basically, it's elf bullshit. Elves getting a little bit of everything. And I feel that that is a downgrading of Imperial wizards, because for all Arcane Marks can be an absolute bastard, sometimes they bring some really cool stuff. Now, if you don't know what Arcane Marks are, very basically, if you channel one wind an awful lot, it can sometimes change your body into something else. And that's where Arcane Marks come from. If you're constantly using the bright wind and you're channeling the bright energy, sometimes your hair will go on fire or something else will occur. And it's a permanent change upon you. It's not something you control. And I preferred it being largely a human thing. So I don't like it. I think it adds character to something that doesn't need more character.
Yeah. And just like we talked about with the whole thing of like allow the elves to be exotic and unique, you have to let humans be exotic and unique too. There needs to be things that humans are capable of that the other species aren't, as opposed to just having humans be sucky garbage dirt.
Yeah, I mean, humans are extraordinary in a variety of ways. The old ones lifted them up, did stuff to them, and at one point, the most powerful magic users in the world, beyond probably the Slan, were humans over in Albion, written into the lore in multiple places. And we often forget this because they like saying that the elves are the best at everything. They're not. The elves are definitely at the peak of what they do, but there are other peaks out there that are all different in their own way, and each of the species brings something unique to the table.
Hold on, I'm going to snipe this real quick. True question remains: Oceans for Outbreak, yes or no? Yes. Yes. Like it's fine. He's a big servant of Manon. They're a Manon unit. That's fine. Do it. Also,
Miles. Yeah, I totally agree.
Lore of Mist for Bretonia, yes. The Total War has established it as the lore of Ladriel, and Ladriel is literally the Lady of the Lake. Even according to the end times, there's just an extra step we think is stupid, but the core step is still there, that Ladriel is the Lady of the Lake. So should Bretonia have the Lore of Mist? Yes. Yep,
absolutely agree. I'm pulling back to next player. Something I love from this DLC is this Slanesh short story, because I think I adore the horror of how chaos corruption manifests.
So that actually leads to the question, because we have just enough time. Andy, did you get around to reading the short story? Okay.
Yeah,
We can talk about it briefly.
Okay, so right, you go do your thing on it, and then I'll add any extra comment on top.
Okay,
given
so
the time is now short because we stop at 12 today.
Forgot that we were supposed to talk about that earlier. So for anyone that hadn't read it, there is a short story that was released by David Geimer that was a wonderful little addition that mostly focuses on T'Challa and Sail the Faithless. It has literally nothing to do with Ashlyn at all. And basically, you follow the point of view of a Cathayan character, and the book does two things primarily. One is that it does a very fun way of showing us what Southern Cathay is like, which is that it's fucking terrifying and it sucks, which is great. That's awesome. That's good news. I like that Southern Cathay is a wild realm that is genuinely fucking terrifying. We get some really fun characterization of Yin Yin, where Yin Yin is very much kind of almost, she reminds me almost of Countess Emanuelle von Leibowitz in some ways, where the character whose POV we're getting is like, oh, she's too busy partying and enjoying money and all this other shit to care about peasant problems. And you also get this idea that Sail the Faithless survived his whole incident with Tamarkan. There is a weird error in the book, which we actually will be doing a stream on Sail soon, where we'll delve into this short story a lot because it adds to Sail's story. But there is a funny goof where David Geimer's like, Tamarkan, which happened 40 years ago. And it's like, did it?
I don't think it did.
Did it? But so we'll talk about that later. So that was a weird error that is actually kind of funny. But basically, it shows us what Cathayan corruption looks like, which I loved, showing how Slaanesh is able to pervert the harmony of Cathay. Ace. Brilliant.
Except the good, of course, because the harmony of Cathay is perfectly harmonious and there's no problems over there at all.
Yes, as the Arcane Journal propaganda is proud to declare to the heavens. And showing T'Challa and like what she does to like villages of people, I thought was very well done and terrifying. The book also does a really good job of showing like what demons are actually like. I like that the book, even though it's about total war, uses like the genuine correct thing of you have a group of really powerful people, a fucking Shuken gun, and they go up against two demonettes, and the Shuken gun gets his mind broken, and most of the people almost get fucking brutally slaughtered, except for the one guy around them who's much more than he appears to be, kills the demonettes. But it's like, oh, demons are fucking terrifying.
Yeah, that was nice. Particularly the small cast-aside comments about them, like, for example, that nothing is faster than a demonette out of all the things they had ever seen in their long existences. And you're like, okay, these demons are bad, man. And I quite enjoyed that. Yeah,
it felt like what demons are supposed to, which is that they're supposed to be like one of the worst possible things you can ever come across. Overall, I enjoyed the story quite a bit. I thought that it characterized T'Challa in a really, really fun way. I like that we got to see a character who is an adherent of Slaanesh, and he had the goal to kill T'Challa to basically further himself in Slaanesh's aims, and he was clearly being manipulated by Sail the Faithless, but Sail's manipulations just completely fall on their face when presented with T'Challa's glory. And Bal the Ogre. Oh, Bal the Ogre was fantastic. That ogre character was brilliant. He was so fun. And he dies in a really kind of horrible way. Like he literally just gets like shanked to death by peasants after he gets his Achilles tendon severed. But I thought Geimer did a great job.
Yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. It was nice to get access to a different part of the Warhammer world. Nice to just see T'Challa, truth be told. And it was a nice build up until the eventual reveal at the end. A nice depiction of Slaanesh as a whole too, rather than necessarily going with the... I mean, there was a little bit of the standard descriptions for it, but it's still really nice to sink into that part. I mean, overall, it was good. I'm very cautious of the time, and we've got some super chat to go as well.
Yeah, I will say that I yes, he did get sworn by a gaggle of peasants.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it quite a bit, and it dropped a lot of fun little tidbits about like there were some mentions like of wild elves that skin humans and wear the skin. That was a fucking fascinating lore drop.
Yeah,
that was like,
who knows? They could be
what the fuck is that? Yeah. So, like some kind of feral wood elf. What the fuck? So that was really fun. There was mention of like kind of some lizardmen that were like capturing people and sacrificing them to golden altars. We got a lot, there were a lot of mentions of like some end stuff, and the Naga of Koresh got hinted at some more and more and more. And the Tower of Ashung had fallen to the Norskins, and it was believed to be in connection with T'Challa, but it wasn't sure. And I will say, I do love that the book continues the process of showing how characters are reinterpreted through a Cathayan lens. So like, she's not known as T'Challa to the Cathayans. She's known as a goddess. Oh, the big one for me was that we got the confirmation that people in Cathay still there are local spirits that are revered and worshipped by people. That was a huge lore drop.
Yeah, it's a massive one because it directly tackles how many of the stories of the dragons have been presented previously, where the idea of spirits all the way up to gods are right out. Turns out, no, they're not. It's a lot more complicated than you first think. But sorry, no. Cathay is harmony and perfect. There's no gods, there's no spirits, and everything is great. And there's never any problems in Cathay. Everything works perfectly.
Yeah, it makes, when you use it in conjunction with the Arcane Journals, I love how it feels like the Arcane Journals are like propaganda, and then Total War is like, no, this is what it actually is like. And boy, is it's like the Empire, which is good, of that it's a place full of turmoil and struggle and suffering, and it's messy. Oh my God, is it messy?
Yeah, it's good. Lovely little story. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun. Let's catch our last bits before we run out of time. I read about a hidden Slanesh cult in a dwarf hold, says Theo Benara. Is there cults to other dark gods in dwarf holds? Yeah. What shape do they take? Amorphous, strange, and sometimes unexpected. Dwarves are not immune to corruption. They are less susceptible to physical corruption. Dwarves don't mutate as much as other species, but they still get the mental corruption, as we were discussing about the elves. So they become super obsessive, they're super weird, or whatever else that corruption might bring to them. And all of the chaos gods are sunk through the dwarf holds to a degree or another, in the same way that all of the chaos gods are sunk through human society. It's just they manifest differently. They're different things that dwarves obsess over, and it's a matter of focusing on what they obsess over rather than what humans obsess over as you build cults for them. I think there's also one big missing story here, that Hishat should be in every fucking hold. Every last one of them should have secret cults to that god of kingship doing his thing. Has that happened yet? No. Will it? If anyone has any sense, it bloody should be the case.
Yep. Also, I will go ahead and post this link in the chat for anyone that's like, where do I find this short story?
Oh yeah, good point.
I have posted it in both chats twice. Go to that link and you'll be able to find it.
Ricardo, elves and dwarves definitely have a far greater advantages than humans, but the 0.001% of humans achieve impossible peaks. I disagree. Chaos Lords.
Yeah, way more. It's way more than that.
They're bigger than the elves. They're bigger than the dwarves. They're harder than them both. They are humans. And you might go, but they're inflated by chaos. It doesn't really matter.
Still human.
They're humans. Sugargan, half dragon, half human, but nevertheless humans. In fact, almost every corner of the Warhammer world has somehow got these weird humans that are taking on traits that are excessive. Real Knights.
It's almost like the old ones made humanity for adaptability, and they were the most successful.
And they are the most successful at it. No, I disagree with this quite fundamentally. Elves and dwarves are consistent. Humans are not. Humans have a lower base level. Far higher
he meant to say averages, not advantages.
Oh, right. Far greater averages than humans. Then, right, yes.
Yes,
but
we agree.
The other thing I'm really disagreeing with then is the percentages.
Yeah. Yes.
Because
the percentage is a little off, but yes, we concur. Thank you.
I concur completely. So I'm going to shut up, very quickly backtrack and say, you rock, Ricardo. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not on you. That's on us, not on you. You're sorry.
It's not 100% my fault. It's late over here. That's the problem, right?
Christopher, what do you think of T'Challa being a Slaanesh demon prince who was an elf who ascended but was demoted into immortal because of being one up by another demon prince. Oh, that would be a weird
moving
story.
into a different form of existence and then coming out of that form of existence and coming back would be one way of potentially dealing with that. Yeah, you could do that. You could. It's probably not the story I would do, but it's one that could make consistent sense of it. Does that seem fair?
Yeah,
cool.
No, I would. You could absolutely run with that. That would make for a weird, fun story because there'd be a whole thing about like, man, has that happened to other demon princes or just her? And if it was just her, then how fucking bad was that scenario, et cetera, et cetera.
The Shugengen in the story was also interesting, described as not a soldier and really fit, still punches right through a guy's chest. I
genuinely love the way the story shows off the Shugengen of like that guy is treated like an absolute fucking small fry. I think he's related to Li Dao, and he's still
down like three generations or so.
Yeah, and he's still just like, pop, you're dead. It's like, Jesus, okay. And he gets instantly wrecked just by witnessing two demonettes. Like I loved that. Like showing how like the Shugengens are so crazy, but they're still vulnerable.
Don't be Dumbo. I'm at a very Nagashian point in my life right now. Come worship Nagash with me, twin.
Are you okay? Do you need help? That feels like a cry for help.
I'm moving on quickly. Gideon, Total War continues to present Cathay better than Games Workshop, in my honest opinion. Well, yeah. It's almost like they were more involved with its creation in many respects and its continuing development than perhaps Games Workshop was. Friend or traitor, building off of Chris's comments, Slaanesh threatening to strip Samuel's power actually happened to the precocious demon prince that was Dekala.
Yeah, you could actually, if you wanted to play around, have a really fun time, you could run a crazy story where Samael and Dekala are actually the same person.
Yeah, and there's a way you could do that. We also ran with various stories for how Dekala could work with Samael back in our Dekala stream. Go watch it if you haven't already. It goes some places, some of which were a bit grim.
Yeah, it's a bummer stream. I will say that.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
We're done.
Yeah, me and Andy were like, oh, we could knock this out like faster than a normal stream, like an hour. No.
Nah, we didn't. We did our normal. We went for 3 hours. First, I'd like to say thank you all so much for all of your support. It has been such a lovely stream of community building. Thank you all for just dropping by as well and joining in with the chat. I don't know about all of you, but the new stuff that's coming out for Total War genuinely interests me. It's not just it's new Warhammer bits, and of course I'm going to buy it because it's new bits. It actually actively interests me. Dekala is fucking cool. Just glad to see her back, but the overall lore and what it's doing is going in what I think is a good direction. So I'm super excited, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this stream today.
Yep, and we'll be doing more soon, covering more of the specific topics because there are some characters we'd love to touch on. Like in the nearish future, we would love to, wrap up Sail, wrap up the Mask, get them kind of over and done with. So expect them soon amidst some other stuff. But
at some point. Yeah. We've got quite a lot to cover over the course of the next few weeks. We've also got things like my 50th birthday this Saturday, and we also have Christmas coming. It's so rude the way all these social events keep on occurring.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us. And like Andy said, thank you for the very generous support and all the memberships. Like, holy shit, the memberships.
Yeah,
thank you all very much. We'll be figuring out what to do with those very soon. So thank you all. We really got to skedaddle. Before I go though, I am gonna send y'all on a little raid journey real quick before we leave.
You're doing that. I fill up that comment. Stand by that. Otto's dumb luck and outseed the elf defense line was Ashland's false flag operation from the start.
What? Otto's
Otto got through because of dumb luck and saying it's an Ashland false flag operation. I don't think so. I don't think Ashland would ever purposefully kill other elves in that way. That's just not how Ashlyn seems to think. Ashlyn went out of his way to save the High Elves that were in Marienburg, for example. He's not about wantonly slaying or getting the outcome that he wants. He's about doing the best that he can in the job that he's doing. And what he considers to be the best result is the absolutely cruel and vicious destruction of anything that might be an enemy of Ulthuan.
Yeah, if you wanted to make a super fucked up version of Ashlyn, that is definitely a route you can go.
Yeah, you definitely could do that. But I don't think that's really the sort of character that Ashlyn is doing. That would be more of a slightly darker and potentially corrupted version of him.
Yeah, I would agree that would not be core to his character as it is intended.
Oh. Did I do that? I probably did.
All right, so okay, now we gotta go. But the raid is gonna take y'all off to see Vera Samilla, who's one of the Lorebeards. She's playing Darktide right now, showing off the new class because they have added in the Necromunda Ganger as a new class in Darktide. So
not Admech, it was the Ganger.
Yeah, I was hoping for Admech, but it's fine.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Hope you all have fun. I'm gonna kick y'all out now to go say hi to Vera. Please give her our love and hang out with her for a little bit and be nice and behave and all that stuff. And we'll see you guys later.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Clicking.